So, yeah, and it turns out, I couldn't believe this, and, it was news to me, but it turns out that he was dead throughout the whole thing. And I just didn't see that coming at all. What?
Like a 24-year-old spoiler.
I didn't see it. I didn't know.
Have you not? Wait, how have you not? Do you know what? It doesn't matter. Welcome to We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod.
Hey!
Episode 6.
Yeah, episode 6 already.
6.
We're steaming through, aren't we?
6. Lucky for some, the number 6. Roll of the die, number 6. That's the wrong week to talk about rolling the die, isn't it? That's next week, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in due course. I'm Jon Brown.
I'm Paul Marsh. And welcome to We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod. So, yeah, we're going to talk about various films, including this week's big new release.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
And we've got some news about some interesting developments with some films that are coming out. We're going to be looking at some trailers as well.
Yes. We've got 6 reviews. 6 reviews.
Yes.
6, including the big one. We're going to be talking about John Wick Chapter 4 or John Wick Baba Yaga, depending on which country you're in. And also, there's so much. We've also got an interview coming up with Joseph Shirley. If you've been really enjoying Creed 3, which we have, and if you've been really enjoying The Mandalorian, which I have, then you'll probably, maybe, hopefully want to know a little bit more about that amazing music, especially that training montage in Creed 3. My days, that's amazing. But yeah, the most wonderful, and he is really lovely as well. Joseph Shirley's on with me this week. We've also got Tip Top 5s.
And that was so successful last week with the Tom Cruise Tip Top 5.
Oh, it was. Thank you so much again.
And we have had unbelievable amounts of people getting in touch with us again this week. Our Tip Top 5 this week is all about sequels.
You chose this one.
I did, yes. So we want to know the Tip Top 5 sequels. Now, again, we do this differently, so it can either be your favourite or what you consider to be the best. So it's your own personal opinion.
I think this week's a bit of both for me. I know you tend to go with your 5 favourites. I've gone with... There were so many contestants, so many... I have to say to you, there was a very difficult challenge this week, I must confess.
It was, wasn't it? And we thought Tom Cruise was going to be difficult.
Well, put it this way. We'll get to this later on, but I mean, Top Gun Maverick would or could be in the top 5 sequels, but there are other sequels of all time, because this is the tip top all time,
of course,
that just pipped it to the post. So I can tell you that now. It's not a spoiler alert. It's not in there.
Well, you've just ruined the rest of the show.
I really wanted it to be in there, and I tried for over an hour yesterday, and as Paul very patiently waited another hour this morning trying to figure out which order they're going to go into, and I kept trying to put Top Gun Maverick in the top 5, and it just didn't quite make the cut, which has now made you all very curious about which 5 did. So these are the 5. I'm going to measure them on the 5 greatest films. I think 5 greatest sequels of all time, but also it's a little bit of a mixture of the 5 greatest and my 5 best, because to be fair, the 5 greatest weren't really the 5 greatest. They were actually like the 10 greatest.
Yeah.
So then I decided, how am I going to get that into 5? Probably by adding some personal preference.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's kind of how we got there. But we'll get to that. That's the Tip Top 5 sequels. That's coming up later as well.
I'm sure you did the exact same thing as me, which is look at your list and go, how can I leave that out? How can that not make my top 5?
Yeah, and there were things that had to.
Yeah.
Because there's only 5 spaces. Yeah. Yes, Simon Bruce. I've got my act together. So, yes, that's all coming up. We've got Blu-rays, we've got DVDs, we've got streaming. It is all to play for on this week's We're Gonna Need a Bigger Pod. If you would like more 20-year-old spoilers, you can follow Paul Marsh.
At Paul Swampy Marsh.
If you'd like no spoilers at all, you can follow me at Jon Brown TV, at Jon Brown TV. And if you want to follow the pod and you haven't done so already, please do at Need a Bigger Pod. Now, if you're not following any socials of ours, you can follow literally any one of them, your preferred platform right now at Need a Bigger Pod. Go and do that right now. And the reason for that is you should definitely be following them right now, because something very special might pop up on there, and the only way you can get involved with that, and might involve something, and I'm not going to say it out loud until I never definite. But you should definitely follow our socials. Just put it that way, because it might be worth your while in terms of something we might or might not give away. There we go. That covers us legally, doesn't it?
So it might be this, it might be that, it might be nothing, it might be something, it might be everything, but could be something.
Just follow them anyway.
Just follow.
Follow them anyway, and then that way you're in, aren't you? I think.
Follow me and I'll spoil Jaws for you.
I've spent far too long on this already. Paul Marsh, bring us the news.
Right.
Bring us forthcome with the news.
Okay, so a very unlikely sequel in the fact that it's been announced there's going to be a second Fall movie.
I'm very happy. You're very unhappy about this.
Well, I just... So Ryan Reynolds made a very good point when they were talking about, not Deadpool, the Free Guy.
Free Guy, yes.
When he said... Not every film needs a sequel. Now,
True.
Fall is currently on Netflix, and it's getting very mixed reviews.
Oh, I have the director's cut on Blu-ray, and I still haven't opened it because just looking at the box gives me sweaty palms.
So I wonder if it is a film that transfers to the smaller screen as well, because we can both attest that when we saw this in the cinema when it first came out, the suspense, the tension, everything else like that is unbelievable. I think I can't even begin to say how much I sweat through that film, of sweaty palms and all of that. The tension is a madness. I haven't seen it on a small screen yet, so I'm not entirely sure how well that tension transfers.
Very well, because what if you're listening, you probably don't know this story, but so I needed to get to Fall quite quickly because I think we had a pretty short turnaround time, didn't we, when we were on the radio? And I think the plan was to get it onto your show as soon as possible because it was even then it was building up momentum, the rumours about it, how insane it was. And so we decided, and then we found out it was definitely going to the cinema on the Friday.
Yeah.
So the very, very lovely people at Signature who distribute the film here in the United Kingdom got onto it for me, and they very kindly set it up for me to see it at home.
Okay.
And the reason for that was so that I could turn it around really quickly to have it on your show at the time before it came to the cinema, so that we had enough time to say to people, this thing is insane, you should definitely go and see it, but not if you are either claustrophobic or afraid of heights. So,
of which I'm both.
Of which you're both. So I ranted and raved about how amazing it was to you. That piqued your interest. However, you didn't tell me. I can't remember if you did or you didn't. Anyway, the reason why this is funny is because you were then very excited about it. So, okay, well, I'll arrange, or you've got a little bit more time now. We've covered the film, right? So we've done all that bit. We've got people to go buy tickets or whatever, but you still hadn't seen it. So I arranged for you to go and see it. What he didn't know was two things. Number one, he didn't know I'd only watched it at home, which is fine because we've got like a 55-inch screen. I'm not telling you where I live so you can't burgle me. But, so, I mean, a 55-inch screen is still a pretty decent way to see this movie and get it, to totally get this. And I know that the movie had impact on a 55-inch, 555? 55-inch
That's
screen.
a big screen.
Yeah, that's a big screen. On a 55-inch screen, it still had impact because Lily felt sick.
Right, okay.
And could not, her hands were like soaked. So, just with like stress. So I know it had its impact on the big and small screen. However, Paul, I think, thought I saw it on a big screen, then decided that he wanted some of that action, and as he should. So I arranged for him to see it on an even bigger screen. And then he told me on the way to said screen that he has a desperately, tragically uncomfortable fear of heights.
Yeah.
To which I thought, uh-oh.
Well, the thing is, well, sort of just very briefly getting into it, it's not a fear of heights as such, it's a fear of being on something that you could easily fall from. So if I could, I go up the Spinnaker Tower here in Portsmouth and stand on the glass floor, and it doesn't bother me one little bit because I know it's incredibly safe and there is absolutely no problems. However, when I climbed Snowdon, my first attempt, I got about 80 to 90% of the way and I had to turn back because it's me. I could fall.
Yeah.
So with the whole film, with the movie Fall, it is literally based on the fact that at any point the wrong hand, the wrong foot, and you're falling. So, but
it's so well done, that film. I love it.
I think it's a great film. However, I wonder after going through everything that she went through, would she ever climb anything again?
I don't know. I don't know how much you've got the screens. As always, you've got the screens. I don't know how much detail we've got into at the moment. I think what's happened, as I understand it, this has happened. So it did. I mean, I think it racked up a very promising 17 million or something. Now, for a film that was made on a very meager budget, this was a much smaller film, by the way. This was, more or less an independent film, really, when you think about it. Made on a very, very tight budget, and yet it works so well. It's a movie that's very small, and yet at the same time is incredibly huge. And it did very good box office. It did very well at the cinema. It's done incredibly well on Blu-ray and DVD and digital. And then it found Netflix, and then it just went even more insane. Like the conversation about it went mental once it went to Netflix.
Like it or not, it was a film that people were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, all the way through its life, from cinema to Netflix, and now it's on Netflix. And I think the success on Netflix alone, let alone when you account box office takings and DVD sales and everything else, meant this is a huge. It's turned into a massive juggernaut. And so I understand why they would want to make a sequel. However, I don't think, or as I understand it, I don't think they're connected. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a similar situation. For separate people, maybe get some cameos from the originals.
I did wonder that. I did wonder if it would be a similar situation kind of thing. Couple of people get themselves into, climbing up whatever, and things go wrong as they do. Otherwise, it would be a really boring film to show somebody climbing and then coming back down safely. So I did wonder if it was going to be a separate thing, which would make a little bit more sense to me than, oh, look, she's climbed up it again and got stuck again.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. I think what they'll likely do. I mean, I don't know anything.
No, we're only surmising.
This is complete and total us thinking about it and where it could go. But I think what will end up happening is it will be new characters, but in a similar situation, and then obviously done differently because it's a sequel. But I imagine maybe she'll be involved somewhere, or they'll be involved somewhere. So I don't know. But yeah, so. I'm actually quite up for it. I'll be honest with you, I'm quite up for it.
I will want to see a trailer. I will want to know a little bit more about it.
Just give it to me now. I'm fine. Just give me the whole thing. Don't worry about the trailer. Just give me the whole movie. I'm in.
So I have figured out the best way to get a film made, and that's to make a trailer, release it, and surefire thing, 12 to 15 years later, your film will be made. It's a surefire way of doing it. It worked for Eli Roth.
It did work for Eli Roth, and Eli Roth is in. What is going on with my mouth today? Eli Roth is in the news.
Yeah, because Thanksgiving, which was one of the faux trailers to be made for Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse, is finally being given the green light and is going to be made.
That's interesting.
Do you know what? I watch Planet Terror and Death Proof on a semi-regular basis, a good probably twice a year or something like that. And the trailers have to be a part of it. Yeah. Werewolf Women of the SS. Well, is brilliant. And
Machete
got made into the real film, yeah.
Machete Kills in Space is something Rodriguez definitely still wants to do.
Just genius.
With Leonardo DiCaprio. Which, when you think about that as a concept, he probably wouldn't do it. But when you think about it from a Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino point of view, he probably would.
Yeah.
Well, we know he would. Look at Once Upon a Time.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm into that. Machete Kills in Space with like Mel Gibson and Leonardo DiCaprio, and I mean, if they get the original lineup, that'll be amazing from what was teased in the last movie. But he very still much wants to do that. So it makes sense to me that Eli Roth finally getting to make Thanksgiving. And we don't know anything about it, do we? It's just that he's announced that he's doing it.
He's announced it. The axe on the chair.
Yeah.
And again, from the trailer, the voiceover, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I'm into it.
Superb, yeah.
I think we should... how do you feel about it? At Need a Bigger Pod. Tell us. I'm up for it. Again, I'm all for these things. I like new things. I mean, it's not a new thing. It's an old thing, really, when you think about it. But... The concept of it, the idea of it. And it's the same with Machete Kills. I'm into that as well. In space.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Because, that was for want of a bit, it's like I guess, early John Wick, really, wasn't he? When you think about it, like the insanity of all the kills.
It's
and
B-movie heaven is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what those guys do. Grindhouse do especially well. So
brilliant.
Yeah, bring it on. Eli Roth makes some great movies, man. I'm into it.
Barry Keoghan and Denzel Washington have been added to Gladiator 2 alongside Paul Mescal.
This is interesting.
Very, very. Barry Keoghan is definitely the actor of the moment, isn't he?
Yeah. He's lovely. I love him. He's brilliant. We had a really good laugh. As I said to you on the pod before, he came on to talk to me about American Animals. I want to say American Animals, which is a really good film about a true story of a heist. Anywho, that aside, he has gone from strength to strength since then. Banshees, he's the Joker in the Batman. Hopefully we'll see him as the Joker in the Batman too, and so on and so on. So yeah, anything, I think Ridley Scott knows talent, for sure. And Denzel and Ridley obviously go back decades, so it's no surprise to me that Denzel's going to be in Gladiator 2. The question is, Gladiator 2.
Is it? Are there
kind of done, isn't it?
Are there any details released? Is there?
There
anything?
are lots of speculation. I think one speculation was that it was also going to see, amongst other things, one of the things that were going to be included was a kind of spectral version of Russell Crowe in the Roman heavens in mythology, kind of that, fighting mythical creatures. And I was insane. I'd like a pint of whatever they were drinking. But so there's so many different theories that are thrown at the wall. I think, again, going back to Fall, I think Gladiator 2, because everyone, when you say Gladiator, you immediately think of Russell Crowe. I don't think this will be that. I think it's Gladiator 2. And the other thing is, I don't think Gladiator 2 is going to stick as a title. I think it will be Gladiator something.
You don't think it will be Gladiators?
I don't know,
like
but
Alien and Aliens.
I don't think. Well, exactly.
Is it going to be Gladiators with a dollar sign instead of an S?
No, there'll be some dollar signs. See how much money Gladiator took and still takes. I think that it will be probably a Gladiator adjacent. So I think if they're taking this very seriously, and Ridley Scott will take this very seriously. Of course. The fact that he's making it tells me he's taking it incredibly seriously. I think it'll be adjacent to Maximus's character, but I don't think it'll be. I don't think it's going to be about Maximus because, spoiler alert. So,
but do we think that it will continue on from then, or do we think, much the same as we've just been talking about Fall 2, it will be a separate story in that time era?
I think it will be a separate story in that universe.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the cast that's lining up, these are all new faces.
Yes.
It's not, oh, Russell Crowe's back. That's interesting.
Well, how long's it been? 25? 20 years?
It's 2000, so 23.
23 years.
Nearly 25 years. So by the time it comes out, it'll have been 25 years since the first one. So I think that there won't be, maybe, I don't know. Again, we don't really know anything. Only Ridley Scott really knows what's about to happen. But the fact that all these cast members, I think Paul is the lead, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Hasn't he been chosen as the Gladiator?
Again, supposedly, yes.
Allegedly. Yep. So also Denzel in there and Barry Keoghan now as well. That sounds like an entirely new cast to me. So I think what we're doing is we're having a Gladiator adjacent story that's adjacent to what happens in the first film, but I don't necessarily think it's a sequel. I don't know. Maybe Paul's playing Maximus's long lost son. Didn't his whole family get murdered? I don't know. There's so many different ways you can do it and not make it silly. Because if it's Gladiator 2 literally, as in the sequel to Russell Crowe and Russell Crowe's in it, that would be silly. But then Ridley Scott, I don't think would go down that route. I think like I said, I think he's taking this very seriously. And the fact that he's making it means he's definitely into it. So, yeah, I think whatever he does, it will be done properly. As long as it's not starts going into one about the deepest mythology of aliens. I'm looking at you, Prometheus. Which is still a great film, by the way. It's odd. It's kind of a beginning of 3 Alien prequels, wasn't it? And I still haven't seen the third one because it still doesn't exist. Anyway, but yeah, Gladiator 2 I think will work if done right. That's my 10 cents.
Right, looking at trailers that have come out this week.
Yeah, tell me, what have you been watching, Paul?
We're going to start with Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken.
The ocean is a mysterious world. Humans know more about the surface of Mars than the floor of the ocean. And the sea creatures who live there, well, even the ones you have imagined, you've imagined them wrong. Take the mighty giant kraken, bloodthirsty monster, sinker of ships. Where are you even getting this? Krakens are majestic creatures and noble protectors.
I'm just Ruby Gilman, normal teenager.
Yeah, composed by the wonderful Stephanie Economou. There's that name again. She was one of our goats of the week.
Which is Disney.
No, it's DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, sorry.
Yeah, it's from DreamWorks.
Which is DreamWorks. Yes, so I showed the poster to both my son and my daughter. And my son, who's 5, went, no, that looks rubbish. Which, you got to love his honesty. However, it is exactly aimed at my daughter. And she really, really liked it. She liked the poster. She liked the trailer. I've watched it, and I already know... Well, I've watched it. I've watched the trailer, obviously.
Yeah.
I already know that my daughter is going to absolutely love this because this is literally made for her.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's that element to it that I think it will suit a young girl, especially, I guess. Yeah.
So it's similar to Turning Red. I think it's a film that is literally aimed at girls coming into that kind of age period.
Young female protagonist.
Yeah. Helps
as well. Yeah, I think that it's too early to call that yet. I think it's just fun. Again, it's nothing. I won't go as deep on this as I did Little Mermaid trailer, but just to kind of recap on the fact that it does look like it's something new, and I'm always looking for something new. It does look something that's going to be a hit with kids, and so far it looks pretty fun. And like I said, I'm really pleased because I think this is. I don't want to say for absolutely certain, but last I checked, I think this is Steph's first big DreamWorks massive theatrical. This is getting a cinema release. It's a huge project, so very, very happy for her. And she'll be coming back on soon, by the way. I actually had a message from her. She's totally up to coming on all our shows for doing a interview that you guys can hear through various means. But yeah, she's up for coming back post Grammy success.
Great news, fantastic.
So yeah, that's good.
So we're going to look at
Did they give us a release date on the Ruby Gilman?
I haven't seen one.
Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken.
Literally look it up now if you wish.
Yeah.
So Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken is going to be released on the 30th of June.
There you go. So summer release. Big animated summer release for DreamWorks. Very much looking forward to that. And as I say, anything that's put Steph into a wider spotlight, I'm all for.
We're going to look at Joyride, which features Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Now, what I get from Joyride is this is an all-female version of The Hangover. Would you go for that?
Yeah, that seems fair. I mean, you saw the trailer. I didn't see this one, but you saw the trailer, so
I thought the trailer looked absolutely fantastic. I thought it looked so good. Again, as with all of these films, when you hit play, you got no idea what you're walking into. I hit play on the trailer, and it had me rolling. It had me laughing out loud. 4 friends get themselves into a situation, is all I'm going to say. If you want to know more, go and look at the trailer. 4 friends get themselves into a situation, which, of course, is they are fearing for their lives, but comedic situations present themselves, and it looks really, really good and looks really, really funny.
Yeah, do it like that.
Deadeye's coming, by the way.
Your cousin?
Deadeye?
Where did that come from? I think I get it.
Y'all calling me crazy. They like Brady.
I love a grand adventure.
Oh, hi.
So nice to see an American. What do you do for work?
It's the cops are doing a bag check.
Oh my God, you're a drug dealer?
You're drug dealers now! We can't get caught with drugs in China.
You gonna plug or you gonna play?
Group project. Honey, you good?
Are they coming out?
Yeah, but only 7, and I think I put in 8.
And an all-female cast, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I have my feelings towards that are let's see when we see. I like, again, all of this stuff with trailers. Some people get very excited about them. Some people get very upset about them, which I just think is odd. I kind of just go, okay, it's a trailer. I mean, it's essentially forecasting what we can expect from something. Yeah, all right. Some trailers you go, oh my God, what is that? Like I did with Haunted Mansion. But I didn't get upset about it. I don't think I got upset about it. I was just like, But anyway,
Joyride is going to be released on the 29th of July.
Things like, I think comedy generally just resonates very well as long as not the funniest bits have all been in the trailer.
Look at me!
Our passports are in my suitcase that got stolen.
You know who can bypass airport security? K-pop stars. Everyone remember their names?
Sassy.
Cutie.
Lisa,
2.
I don't believe these girls are singers.
Girls, show them.
Show them what?
Right, what's next?
So very lastly, Beef, which is coming out on Netflix on April the 6th, starring Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong. Now,
he is talking about a film and not the smell of my feet right now.
So Beef is a film that is a similar vein to Unhinged and a similar vein to A Good Person that we're going to talk a little bit later in the show about.
Oh, yeah, we are.
About how a simple moment in your life, a simple incident, can then change your life forever.
Oh, like the butterfly effect.
Yeah, so basically it's Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong driving in separate cars. They almost have an accident in a car park, almost. They both get very angry about the situation. Each one blames the other one. And then these are two completely normal family live people, you know, and they get into this road rage incident and they have to get one over on the other.
Yeah.
And it consumes their lives and it ruins their lives. And this is going off of the trailer, by the way. And it ruins their lives and it changes it forever. So, and that looks really,
Hence
really
the title.
interesting. Yeah, it looks really, really interesting. So, like I say, Beef is out on Netflix on April 6th.
There we go. Coming to Netflix, we'll have more on that, or everything we've talked about so far in news and trailers. Once we've seen finished cuts of these things, of course, we will give you the deep dive on those. What have we got next, my friend?
So coming out at the cinema this week, things that we are going to talk about very quickly. So we have got Wobble Palace, The Five Devils, Antidote, Infinity Pool, and 80 for Brady all out this week.
So I think the plan, although we'll be honest, we won't bore you with it, dear listener, but the plan has changed quite rapidly most days this week. It's been quite a week. So I will say for now, I think the plan is you were very keen on Infinity Pool, weren't you? And so I think if we try and, I might leave Infinity Pool with you because it's just a little bit far beyond my reach.
It looks an interesting
I like
film, doesn't
Cronenberg,
it? Yeah.
but I have to be in the. It's one of those weird things. I have to be in the right mood on the right day, and the weather has to be just right, and the wind blowing in the right direction. It's one of those. I love like Clive Barker's Nightbreed, which I know Cronenberg's in, but things like I do like flesh horror and stuff like that, but it just you got to be in the right mood, man.
Yeah.
So, and I think the screening was like 9:30 for 10 in the morning or something, wasn't it ridiculous? Like,
Just after breakfast.
No. So, but I am keen to see it. I know you're keen to see it.
Very.
So, Infinity Pool, we will endeavour to come back around to next week and cover that in great detail. Same with 80 for Brady. I think we should at least try it. And maybe, I don't know, how we fixed.
Well, I love the NFL.
Yeah, maybe we should try and fit that in on Friday.
And squeeze it in somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
Somewhere.
If not Friday, then maybe next. But anyway, 80 for Brady, out in cinemas this Friday. I will mention it. I know composer John Debney did a lot of lovely work on 80 for Brady, so I will celebrate it right now and tell you it's out Friday. So is Cronenberg's Infinity Pool. If horror's your thing, then that's where you're going this Friday. And then the other movies are...
So still out at the cinema, I want to talk about Rye Lane.
Yes, please do. Who directed this again?
Rain Alan Miller?
For it.
Should have been more prepared, shouldn't I?
No, you were prepared. You were literally...
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah, Rain Alan Miller.
There
I was
we
right.
go.
I was right first time.
There
You
we
made
go.
me doubt myself.
No, you were right the first time.
You made me taste my own blood.
It's only because this director in particular has been getting an immense amount of praise and support for this work, which I understand. I don't know for certain, but I think it may be the debut from...
I think it is the major debut, yeah. They
Which-
obviously may have done a short and what
And a
have you. But
major debut it is indeed, because I've seen nothing but positivity for this film.
it is fantastic.
Okay, very quickly, just give me the liner notes again on, without spoilers, about what, just
So
a couple of lines on what
So
it's about.
literally, very briefly, it's about two youngsters who have just broken up from relationships. They are handling it very differently, and they meet by pure chance, and they spend the rest of the day together. So the one thing that a lot of people are saying about this, a lot of people are saying it's Notting Hill for this generation,
Ooh.
which I can understand because it's a London-based romantic film, and I get that. But for me, it's not the same at all.
It's not, I've seen it referred to as a not Brit rom-com.
Yeah, it is. But thing is, so it's about. I would hazard a guess that both of these two are in their early to mid-20s, something along these lines. Two adults from London who are in that world. They obviously have, I think it's Jamaican parents because they go to one of their houses. And so it's not Notting Hill. Obviously, Notting Hill with Julia Roberts, the celebrity coming to town. Hugh Grant is very English and very British.
Yeah.
And so it's not that. It has a lot of diverse culture.
Yeah, well, I would say then, from that point of view, I've seen it described as a not Brit rom-com, but not in a negative context, in terms of it's not, as to elongate that sentence, not your traditional British rom-com.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds very accurate in terms of Notting Hill it is the opposite of that, in that I kind of get from these two characters, from what I've seen of it, that this is a more realistic approach.
Yes.
This
is everyday London.
This girl could live in the flat next door to you.
100%.
Right.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
This is everyday London. This is not the celebrity coming to town and the posh Notting Hill, etc. This is everyday London. It's shot fantastically. I mean, you'll have seen in the trailers, the fisheye lens is used quite a lot. But there's always something going on the screen. Even if there's a shot of them walking from one place to another, there's children skipping. There's vendors selling food. I
saw large shots of like graffiti in the background while
there's
they're having
always
conversations.
something showing you. I mean, because obviously London gets very mixed rep, as we know.
Well, it's always the same shots of a red telephone box.
Yeah.
But something did this really recent? Oh, Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Right.
It's like, oh, we're going to go to London.
Big Ben,
it was almost very Wayne's World 2. I mean, Wayne's World 2 leans right into it and really takes the mickey.
Fantastic.
But even then, when was that movie? What, 93 or something? 94?
No, 94, 95, yeah.
So even then, that movie knew that the movie industry takes the mickey when it comes to London. So what happens is like Magic Mike's Last Dance, you get obligatory shot of red phone box, Westminster, Big Ben. Oh, and now we're at the theatre the famous theatre that we're going to set the movie in.
Yeah.
So even Notting Hill gets this right, but the thing that I liked, even just from the trailer for Rye Lane, was like, how beautiful does this make London look?
It really is. Like I say, the cinematography is wonderful. The score is fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. It nails it. Absolutely nails it. The only bad thing I can say about this film is it's too short.
Yeah, I know it's lean, right? It's like an hour and 22.
Hour and 22 minutes. And if the only bad thing you can say about a film is that it's too short, that's not a bad thing, because I would rather be left at the end of the film wanting more than for it to have been 2 hours long and to go, oh, they could have cut half an hour out of that.
Yeah, you felt that way about the other thing that we watched, the other rom-com with Lily James, didn't you? What's Love Got to Do with It?
What's Love Got to Do with It? Yeah, which I thought was great, but possibly a little bit too long. So Rye Lane hits the absolute nail on the head with this one. They've ticked every single box. The characters are likeable, are funny. They have heart.
Yeah.
They are going through a lot, which you can see, and they struggle with that. And same as all of us, when you're going through something, you can put on a brave face and you can, to the outside world, everything's great, but inside you're really hurting and you're really struggling. So every single box there gets ticked. There are some phenomenal cameos. There are 2 or 3 cameos in this.
Yeah, don't spoil them.
I will not spoil them, but will make you laugh out loud and put the biggest smile on your face. And that's essentially what this film did. I walked out with the biggest smile on my face, and it just is a feel-good film that is fantastic, and I recommend everyone to go and see this. And I would give it 4.5 stars.
4.5 out of 5. That's a very good score for Rye Lane. So, yeah, I like everything I've seen or heard about it so far, and literally, I know Sean Wilson had a lot to say about it in a very positive way. So, yeah, all round, I think that sounds fair, and it also makes me want to go and see it even more now. So, yeah, Rye Lane, that's in cinemas right now. 4.5 out of 5 stars so far for that one. Up next, we've got Shazam. Nothing's happening. I keep saying it, but nothing's
disappointing,
happening.
Isn't it?
Anyhow, Anywho. So last week, Ruben came on as our guest critic. Thank you again to Ruben Shaw for all of his help with that. Got us across the line with his take on Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I've now seen Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And I will say... So just in brief summary, it's directed by David F. Sandberg. It sees the return of Zachary Levi and co... Well, Asher Angel plays the teenage Billy Batson, and then, of course, Zachary Levi plays Shazam! Who he turns into once he says the magic words with his powers bestowed upon him by a mythical wizard played by Jaimon Hanzu.
Who is phenomenal. I love him. As an actor, I love him.
And so just to kind of give it, again, spoiler-free kind of roundup of what's going on, he's in a place where, as a teenager, he's aging up now. He's 17. He's got normal... I like all good teenage comic book characters should have. He has very normal real-world concerns. Mm-hmm. He loves his family. He's still in the foster home, but, he's worrying about... When I get to 17, am I going to get thrown out? Like, do I have to get a job? He's kind of dealing with all those normal day-to-day real-world things. And then, of course, his best friend is dealing with school and love and all those other things as well. So the teenage elements of kind of coming to terms with everyday teenage. When you're a teenager, these things are massive, massive problems, aren't they? Or massive kind of mountains, rites of passage when he's... So it handles all that stuff very well. But the kind of crux of this is two sisters... I want to say there are two. Okay, so in the outset there are two sisters. I'm going to spoil this. Two sisters who are gods have come to reclaim their power because their father's power currently resides
in Shazam.
In the Shazam family, because they're a family now. Don't forget. For anyone that saw the last,
I assume this is Helen Mirren and Lucy.
Yeah.
Liu.
So for anyone that saw the last movie, they'll know that Shazam became a Shazam family, essentially, that all his foster brothers and sisters, and now they now work as a team to save the day whenever a situation arises, and they use their power wisely for the greater good of others. However, two gods, played by Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, who are sisters, are not very happy about that and have come to reclaim their power back.
This realm was sealed up from magic.
Yes, after you ripped it from our father's very core. From every god in this realm. From me! Do you not remember what you took? What my particular power was? The power of elements. It was your hands that forged this staff for our father, and yours that will mend it.
I told you. I would die before I help you.
So that's initially the setup. I've seen a lot of mixed responses to this, and I know you have as well. Ruben rated it very, very highly, and he was very happy about that whole theatrical experience. And I will say this for Ruben, it is a theatrical experience. It is a movie that needs to be seen in the cinema. I don't think it's something you need to wait for streaming or should wait for streaming. I think it is something you should see on a big screen because it does take things up. It kind of takes the first one and then amps it up to like 10,000. Everything that was bonkers about the first one is even more bonkers in the second one. It's just like they've turned it all up to 11, which is good for fans of Shazam. It's good for fans of popcorn cinema like us, and it's good for fans of people that just want a wild ride at the cinema. So it's got all that in spades, which is all good. I don't agree with... there's a lot of... To be honest with you, there's quite a lot... Just horrible criticism about it, which made no sense to me. I kind of watched it and I just went, this is fun. It's not breaking any new ground.
I think this is the difficult thing with a lot of films and film critics, well, not even critics, but people giving their opinion on films.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect a masterpiece now every time. This is like the fallout of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with how great the Avengers films were and all of that. And it's difficult. You listen. It's a struggle to hit those peaks on every single film that is ever made, because not only are you're ticking all of those popcorn boxes, but you're also ticking all of the this is a great story and it all makes sense boxes as well. And that's difficult to do in every single film that's ever made.
The thing I love about the first one is it kind of had that attitude about it, that it wasn't like it was a DC movie. It wasn't a Marvel movie. And so because it was a DC movie, it went in a few darker directions. Now, at the time, bearing in mind, Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange didn't exist at that time. So DC doing the Shazam thing, but making it more like an 80s PG, and then it pushed that 12 PG-13, it pushed that area really tightly. Bearing in mind, David F. Sandberg is a magnificent horror director. So having him do Shazam and then push the envelope on what was allowed in a PG, I like that. I appreciate it, because that's the thing that, Marvel's always pushing the envelope in terms of what they can get away with in a 12. But this gave it a little bit more of a horror tint, and it had that Goonies, Gremlins-y kind of vibe about it. That's what I dig about the first one. Obviously, since then, Marvel's now done that with Doctor Strange, and obviously Sam Raimi got not told off, but a lot of people are like, wow, that's a lot for a 12, which I dug that about. But Sam Raimi does that with everything anyway. But so, yeah, getting a horror director to do a comic book movie, I think those things always go hand in hand. They go really well. I like David F. Sandberg. He and I had a lovely chat a while back for the first movie, and about how he kind of got to delve into his love of that kind of cinema, these films that we remember growing up, and to be able to emulate that, but with this whole back catalogue of Shazam stories, because obviously the whole Shazam mythos goes all the way back, and obviously Black Adam's part of the Shazam mythos. So yeah, I really, really liked it. I don't think it deserves any of the negativity that it's got at all. It's just, yes, it's a CGI film. When it gets that right, it gets it really, really right, by the way. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, all right, I know everyone talks about the dragons. Obviously, the dragons in the trailer, it's not a spoiler alert. There are a lot of epic scenes with that dragon, and Ruben's right. They are magnificent. And they do a lot of other things. Again, just to touch on what Ruben said about mythical creatures, there are a lot of mythical creatures in there. Again, I won't spoil it, but there is one particular moment with a mythical creature that you will laugh like a drain when it happens. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot to like about it. It's a lot of fun. It's very funny. It's heartwarming when it needs to be. It's emotional. Others, I think it hits, again, we talk about checking boxes. It checks all those boxes. I just don't think it's doing anything new. I just don't think, again, and I keep saying this, I don't think it deserves to be absolutely crapped upon like it has been. It seems just odd to me that people have just taken this weird dislike to it. I don't think there's anything about it that was to dislike. I just thought it was just not. It was just okay. Just
one of those ones where, again, when we look at our star rating, we go 3 out of 5 is a good film, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good film.
Yeah, it was a good film. It's again, and again, something we say all the time: beer and pizza. We talk about beer and pizza, or in the case of the theatrical experience, the popcorn film.
Yeah.
These films need to exist. Not everything needs to be tar.
No.
Not everything needs to be tar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know I stuck up for Black Adam in exactly the same way.
Yeah, well, I think, well, obviously I saw Black Adam, and again, I agreed with you on that. I thought Black Adam was
just good fun.
Enjoyable. And it would appear that Shazam is along the same way.
Exactly the same. I like the first one a little bit more, I'll be honest with you. But in general, it was just fun. It was all right, man. I just got to the end of it and went, that was cool. And then moved on with my day.
Yeah.
It didn't upset me. I didn't feel the need to take to the internet. I didn't feel the need to actually, because this happened apparently as well. I didn't need to tweet all the actors and the director and be like, what have you, my life is over because of you.
That's a very strange
it's
phenomenon,
weird
isn't
flex.
It,
it's a weird flex.
That, yeah.
So, and the only reason I know that is because Rachel Ziegler, one of the stars who was in West Side Story, of course, Spielberg's West Side Story, I saw her tweeting away the other day about it. She's saying, we're really proud of this movie. There's a reason why it's got a low critic score but a high audience score, because we made it for audiences, and that's exactly what this movie is. It's a movie for audiences. As a fan, it's a movie for people that love cinema, love that ride, that experience, that communal kind of laughing and joking and going on a journey together. If you love popcorn, DC or Shazam, this is for you guys, man. Enjoy it. That's what it's for. I just thought it was good fun. So yeah, I think 3 out of 5 is a very respectable score for Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which is in cinemas now.
Right, so we're going to look at some titles that are literally dropping out this week.
Yeah, we are.
Now, I watched a couple of films this week from Chile.
Two films
Two films from Chile.
Two films from Chile. Not you had Chile. I had Chile, but you watched films from Chile.
It wasn't that Chile. I turned the heating off and I was chilly. 2 actual films.
Again, some weird flex. So, start with one at a time. So let's give me one title.
Right.
Talk to me.
So the first film we're going to talk about is The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future.
Do you know the director?
Yes, I do. The director is Francesca Allegria.
Okay. Give me the highlights in a nutshell.
So, this film is about Cecilia, who travels to her father's farm after he's had a heart attack. Back in her childhood home, she is greeted by her mother, which is nothing special. The only thing is her mother died a few decades ago.
I'm in. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's a very so the basis of this film it's about the environment. Okay, so this stems from something has happened. Now they never confirm it, but something has happened to a river, and a loose blame is on the local factory that's put chemicals in or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All the fish in the river have died. Now, Cecilia's mother committed suicide, allegedly committed suicide. There's a whole thing about, is it suicide, is it murder?
Right.
In this river, however many years ago.
Right.
From her being a young girl, I would say it's even 30 years or something like that.
Okay.
25, 30 years. And yeah, so the fish have died, and Cecilia's mother rises from this river.
Okay.
And she's in the exact same state that she was when she went into the river. So she is a, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s woman.
Okay.
And yeah, it's very strange. It's an art house film.
Where does the cow come into it?
So the cow... Yeah, that's right. There's going to be there will be a lot of questions like that because it's an art house film. Okay.
The cow's on the poster and in the title. So where does the cow come into this?
So the cow comes into it because the father, who has had a heart attack, along with his son and her brother, run a dairy farm. Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to explain this the best I can
without spoiling it.
Well, it's not without spoiling it. It's just a mad film. The cows sing. And the fish that have all died sing. And the birds that are flying around sing. Okay. They all sing this same song, which is about them dying and, and about them going home as such, you know, off to heaven or wherever the next place is.
So this is in the movie?
Yes.
Did you go to the pub on the way home again?
Do you know what? I think I had a cup of... Did I have a cup of tea? I think I had a cup of tea. I didn't even have a whiskey or anything. It's like I say, it's a bonkers film.
I must remember to stop giving you my tea.
It's bonkers, but I have to say it was good. It wasn't a bad film. It's a different film. It's an art house film. So, you know, if you like your art house films, this will be right up your alley. It's got a lot of great reviews. So, personally, it's not something I would return to see. It is absolutely mad. However, it was enough to keep me wanting to watch it and to get to the end and find out what happens and all of that. And I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end because a lot of things do happen. And like I say, it's mad. It's a strange film, but I enjoyed it enough to get to the end. So I would give this one a 2.5 stars. 2.5 stars.
Okay, so so 2.5. That's an interesting score. What did you not like about it? Without spoiling it.
That it just didn't make a lot of sense. It just didn't make a lot of sense.
You had the subtitles on, right?
Yeah. Yes, I had the subtitles. That helps? Yeah. No, I had the subtitles on.
It didn't make a lot of sense. Was there anything else you didn't like about it, or?
It was just... It's difficult to explain, but it just...
Without spoiling, no, I get that,
It's just a strange film. There are good things in it, without a doubt. You know, the acting is great in it. I enjoyed that. It's a strange plot line with the animals all singing about dying, because the river is dying and we are killing nature, and that's, you know, the overall theme of the film.
I get the morals there. The subtext is very evident
just
there. Yeah.
Strange. If you like your art house films and you want to see something that's a little bit mad, a little bit out there, a little bit different, then
and it's all very well shot, very well edited. Yeah, what did you like about it?
That or everything like that is what I'm getting at. So the actual story was kooky enough to keep me interested, and like I wanted to know what was going to happen. The acting was all great, but it just, you sat at the end and went, okay.
So that is the cow who sang a song into the future. I'm so happy I remembered that.
Yeah, well done.
That Paul Marsh giving that 2.5 out of 5. That drops into cinemas or more, I think probably and more importantly, an independent cinema near you. So do support independent cinema. That drops into cinemas from Friday. If you get to see it, give us your thoughts, because Paul says 2.5. I might feel differently. You might feel differently. So far, if you've agreed or disagreed with any of our ratings, tell us and tell us why at Need a Bigger Pod. Okay, what's next?
The second of my Chilean films.
1976.
I've never seen a Chilean film in my life, and I've watched 2 in a week.
I gave you a double bill.
You got a double bill, yeah. So 7. Depending on where it is, it's either Chile 76 or 1976. It'll be called one or the other. It is set in Chile 1976, and it's about a woman who is living in her beach house while her husband, who is a doctor, is working away, and she's charged with doing up the beach house.
Yeah.
She is clearly a very religious woman. She goes to church a lot, and the priest asks her to take care of a young man who is hiding from the government. So again, this is a very difficult film to explain unless you know a lot about Chile in 75, 76, with General Pinochet taking over and the communist regime and all of that, which I know enough to kind of know what happened, but I couldn't tell you the full ins and outs of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is a lot of things happening with the government and, like I say, and everything else like that. So she is the priest is hiding this man. He's been shot, and the priest charges her with looking after him.
Yeah.
And seeing that he's okay. And then I think she does her duty, as a good Christian, and to do the right thing to help this man out. And then she just kind of gets embroiled deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So the interesting thing about this film is it is shot as if it was made in 1976.
Oh.
So it looks like an old 70s movie. The even stranger thing about this is the score and the soundtrack comes straight out of an 80s horror film.
Oh, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's very, very strange how they've done that.
That's interesting to me.
So, you know the 80s jarring synths,
Yeah, like John Carpenter and stuff.
Exactly like that. It's exactly like that. And that's
Tangerine Dream and stuff.
And that's all of that score is used in the moments that have the tension. So the tension that you got when Michael Myers was about to turn that corner.
Yeah.
When somebody is coming to look at the house and they are looking for this man that they are hiding, those moments are used. When she's driving in her car and there's a road check, that moment is used with this. So it's very, very strange in that. It's again, this is another film that has phenomenal response critically. 10 out of 10s across the board.
Well, it was festival toured, wasn't it? It
did
very, very well at festivals.
So it came out at Sundance in 2022, which was the big one where it really blew up. And it's Manuel. So I'm going to try and say this. It's Manuela Martelli. I'll try that again. Manuela Martelli is the director, and she has got a lot of plaudits for this film. A lot of plaudits.
Yeah, wasn't it in London Film Festival as well?
Possibly. I'd imagine it is. I'd imagine it's done the tour of the whole thing.
I think I saw somewhere it was at LFF. But anyway, yeah, it's very well praised.
Yes, very well praised. I have to say, I really, really struggled.
You struggled with it?
Yeah, whereas the last film about the cows singing Into the Future, I didn't struggle. I got to the end of it and I wanted to keep knowing what was happening.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest, and with this film, I didn't want to keep watching and I struggled a lot.
Okay, so what did you not like about it?
It's a very slow story. Like I say, so it's a very slow story. It's very slow paced. And like I said at the start, I think it is possibly a film that, unless you have a knowledge and an understanding of what happened in Chile in 1975 and 1976, you will struggle to comprehend everything. So look at it this way. So we, in England and America, obviously, have a lot of films that are based on World War II and the Nazis and all of that because it impacted our lives so deeply, and we've been taught about it from our grandparents. It's taught in our schools, so we know about all of the history there. Now, I would imagine that all of this history is taught in Chilean schools, but it's not taught in our schools. So I really struggled to understand and know everything that was going on because it's a Chilean film, So they didn't spoon feed it to you throughout the story to tell you what was happening and what was going on. It's just kind of assumed that you know what is going on, which I would imagine to 99% of the population in Chile, they probably do know. However, outside of Chile, maybe not so much, or outside of Southern America, let's say, maybe not so much. So I really struggled with that. The overall story of, basically, it's an overall story of a woman's choices between good and bad.
Yeah.
Is do I help this guy and do I do the right thing and put myself and my family in jeopardy, or do I turn a blind eye and turn him in, and at least I know that myself and my family are going to be okay? And it's that choice between good and bad, good and evil.
That's, I guess that's the core of it, isn't it? I mean, in terms of what we do or don't know about Chilean history, I think what makes that interesting is that it makes us more curious about that history. So just to play devil's advocate, for me, that would just make me more intrigued to go back and look at what I don't know. Yeah,
I think if I hadn't finished it at probably around about 11 o'clock at night, I possibly might have done that. However, I was quite tired and I didn't. But yeah, no, it certainly made me think about, as a 41-year-old man, it makes you think about what I didn't learn at school, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So I would say there's a positive.
There is so much history in the world, and we learn what is relevant to us. Now, what is more relevant in this world? Is it learning what happened with the takeover of Chile in 1975-76, or is it knowing about 1066, what happened in Sussex with the Normans and all of that? What's a bit more relevant? You can ask those questions, I think, but essentially I didn't know anything about it, and it didn't tell me anything about it. It just presented me with this situation. But like I say, it is an art house film. It's not designed to be like we talk about popcorn films.
Yeah,
it's
complete
not
opposite,
designed to be a popcorn film. Obviously, we saw Tar a couple of months ago, whenever it was that it came out, and it's more in line with a Tar than it is anything else. And I'll be completely honest with you and say that I really did struggle with this film.
Was there anything you truly enjoyed about it?
Nothing to say that I really enjoyed about it that I would go, oh, you need to see this purely because of this. So there are some films, as we all know, that even if it's a bad film, an actor's performance can make you say, yes, you need to see this because Mr. Smith is great, etc. There wasn't anything about this film that I go, listen, the story is a bit of a struggle, but you need to see this. I like the score. I thought the 80s synth score was nice. It was an interesting take. It made the whole film feel very dated, along the fact that it was how it was shot in a 70s style. I liked it, put you in that situation, but I really, it's not something that I would revisit again.
Okay, that is 1976 or Chile 76, depending on what part of the world you're in. That's going to independent cinemas from Friday. Paul Marsh, out of 5.
I would only give this one a 2.
A 2? You liked it even less than Cow, who sang a song into the
future? Cows, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I think we need to bring it up a bit, don't we?
I think we do. And just by the way, I probably should point out, if you're listening to this podcast after Friday, we do mean Friday the 24th of March. So all these films that we are discussing, which we will recap in a second, are all for cinematic, theatrical release, Friday 24th of March. Next, right, I think we both chime in on this one. Next is A Good Person.
Yes.
Which is the new film from Zach Braff. He who makes great movies. I love him behind the camera and in front of the camera. I love Garden State, one of my favourites of his. Of course, everyone knows Scrubs. A couple of other things, really great projects that he did. This is his brand new film. It is going to cinemas. It was acquired by Sky, but you and I were very delighted to find out that it is going exclusively to cinemas for a couple of weeks. So although it is bought and paid for by Sky in the UK, anyway, I don't know how that translates. I think it's MGM in other territories.
I believe so, yeah.
But here in the United Kingdom, where we are, it's been acquired by Sky. But the good news is that doesn't mean it's going to be sent to DTV heaven forever. No, they've gone fully in on this one, as they should. They've got fully behind it. It's got a full cinema release. So I
believe it's out for a month at the cinema.
Maybe so. I don't know quite how short. I do know that from Friday 24th of March, it will be in every major cinema near you. So thank you to all the chains for picking this up, because it's a real great film, but we'll get into that in a sec. It then goes to Sky Cinema later in April. So I would recommend going and seeing this on a big screen. That's the kind of tip-top highlight. But it is directed by Zach Braff. Does it star Zach Braff? No, this time he's fully behind the camera on this one. Stars Florence Pugh, Morgan Freeman,
Molly Shannon.
She's
great in it.
Yeah, this...
And also Alex Wolff has a little cameo in it, which is nice.
No, so... It's very... and do you know what? I was thinking about this morning. I was like, this movie... Wow. Like... I got, because I was the same as you. You were like, oh, it's a Sky original. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Because not to take anything away from anything Sky does, any Sky original content, but one tends to think as soon as something gets acquired to go straight to a streamer, that maybe
it's quite not as.
There's a chance that someone took a really good movie and paid a lot of money for it and got it headed in the direction of home release, right? But of course, and I don't think we're wrong for saying this, there's also that kind of nagging doubt in the back of your mind where you go, oh, is it maybe not that good then? If it's bought up for, like we say, direct to DTV, direct to DVD, direct to home. In this case, how wrong we were.
Yep.
So it is getting a major theatrical release, even in this country. So thank you very much to Sky for putting it in the right place. It is a movie about... I don't know. So what can we actually tell you?
Similar to Beef in what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
it's
so
about a moment in somebody's life that is completely changed forever.
Yes, so Florence Pugh is living very, very happily with her fiancé. And life is good. Life is sweet. And then she has a tragic accident. Won't go too much into that, but what I will say is it alters the course of her life almost immediately in terms of her, not just her mental health and her well-being, but in terms of her immediate life around her, how that impacts her.
And everybody else around her.
And everybody else around her, how it impacts her relationship, how it impacts her friendships, how it impacts her family, how it impacts her, not so immediate family in terms of her fella's family, etc., etc. And then she goes on this journey. Now, meanwhile, while she's going on this journey, which, by the way, doesn't just start and end with a car crash. This is a journey, an emotional journey. This is a journey about guilt. This is a journey about self-rediscovery. But it's also a journey about opioid addiction.
Yes. Yeah.
Because as a result of that accident, she then developed... And we see, I mean, if anybody wants to get... You really don't want to, but if you really want to get into behind this, it's really strange. Almost in a way, this was kind of a follow-on from Dopesick. If you ever watched
Dopesick was amazing.
Yeah. Dopesick. So if anyone that saw Dopesick and obviously knew about the Sattler, stuff like that, the whole thing, the oxy epidemic, the opioid epidemic, this riffs on Dopesick in that she goes through this movie with a massive opioid issue as a result, and an addiction and problem. So it addresses all those themes. It's addressing grief. It's addressing self-rediscovery. It's addressing pain of loss and grief and struggling to overcome obstacles that life throws at us that are sometimes our fault, sometimes not. And it's how that impacts everyone around her, including Morgan Freeman, who is absolutely phenomenal in this.
Allison, don't go.
This was a mistake.
No, it isn't. Trust me. I know how hard it is to get here. It's damn near impossible, and you did it. Don't run away now because of me.
There are thousands of meetings. I'll find another one.
Wow, yeah, but this one has the best snacks.
I want to go.
No. You've made it this far, and I wouldn't.
I don't want to be here.
Nobody does in the beginning.
I don't want to be anywhere.
Then you are definitely in the right spot.
There is not a bad performance in this film, is there? There is not a bad performance at all. Everybody in this film knew the assignment. They signed up to it. They got it. They did it, and they delivered. It was just brilliant.
The screen chemistry, not just, between Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman is beautiful. Not just that, but Morgan Freeman's relationship with his granddaughter, I think, in this is
there are so many relationships in this whole movie that are relatable.
Yeah.
That are really relatable. And imagine your life is going so well,
and then bang,
and somebody takes the rug out from under your feet and your entire world comes crashing down. How do you feel about that? How do you handle that?
Yeah, and then an opioid addiction on top of that. In terms of Florence Pugh's character.
What I love about this and where it follows on from Zach Braff's Garden State is he clearly, because I think he wrote this as well, didn't he?
I believe he did.
He did. He wrote this. Yeah. So he clearly knows how to write about people struggling, and if you take the links between Garden State and this, and the fact that it takes place in a small little community with people that are struggling, and the parents, how they feel about a certain situation and how they would deal with something which is very different to how a different generation deals with something.
Yeah.
And the older generation of, oh, come on, you're fine.
Stiff upper lip.
Pull
your socks up.
Yeah. Whereas a younger generation, which is completely different, and then a younger generation again.
Yeah, with the granddaughter.
With three generations.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with well, maybe more than that, because you're dealing with Morgan Freeman's character, obviously much older generation. This was a guy, it's not a spoiler because he's got the hat on in the trailer, I think, that it says Vietnam veteran on his baseball cap, so we know he's a vet. He's an ex-cop, he's a retired police officer as well. Much past that, I won't tell you because I think that would spoil it. But yes, there's his generation. Then, of course, there's Florence Pugh's mum's generation.
Yes.
You've got to think about that as well.
Yep.
Then there's Florence Pugh's generation. And then, of course, there's Morgan Freeman's granddaughter's generation, or Morgan Freeman's character's granddaughter's generation as well. So we've got this multi-generational story where each one of those, and this is the genius of it. This is why I love his writing. Each one of those are all on their own path for something. This one singular incident has impacted everyone on that rack, so to speak, like I said, stacked up in generationally. They have all been dealt this hand, and it's how they're all dealing with it in different ways, some better than others. The way this film handles addiction, again, as I said, riffs on the way that Dope Sick handled it, which was very well, and the pain and the struggle and all the problems that come with that, and the indignation and the stigmas as well. Like, there's a whole thing goes on when she sees some friends that she knew at school and so on and so forth. So that is all in this, quite beautifully wrapped up in this, and quite uncomfortable at times. But also, like we say, how each of them processes their grief and addiction. Addiction is a huge through line in this.
Oh, it goes hand in hand with the grief, doesn't it?
It does. And so it's how does one overcome addiction, but how does one overcome grief? But ultimately, how does one wrestle with and overcome pain? Really, that's all this is down to. It's pain of one form or another. It's pain. And how these characters come together. And as the tagline on the poster says, sometimes hope is found. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but sometimes hope is found in the most unlikely of places, right? That's essentially where you least expect it. So this does that beautifully, and like Garden State, every frame of it is gorgeous.
Yes.
Even the stuff that's not so gorgeous is filmed beautifully.
Yeah.
The way it's shot, the way it's cut. Every single person, as you said, turned up to work on their best A game.
I mean,
every character.
We all know that Morgan Freeman is, a legend, so we don't even need to discuss Morgan Freeman. And I think we all agree that Florence Pugh is a phenomenal actor as well.
She is a runaway train right now.
This movie, this performance, just takes her up an extra step for me.
Yeah, I thought about this. I saw it yesterday, and I keep thinking about it, so that's a good thing. I know you've seen Garden State many times. The thing with Zach Braff is he makes very powerful films, and I always say it's a bit like things like The Dark Knight, or things that are quite heavy. I mean, this film is very heavy.
Oh, very,
like,
very,
without
very.
any shadow of a doubt. We won't lie to you. It's very heavy, but it's heavy with good reason.
It's not a film
It's not depression porn.
I was gonna, I was gonna say it's not a film to be enjoyed, but that's not right.
That's not right.
That's
no,
not
because
right.
I think there's forgiveness in those quieter moments.
But it is not a light subject. It's a deep and dark subject.
No, and there's so many different threads to this story as well. There's so many different ties. You know what I mean? Like it's just so well done. That's what I kept thinking. It's just so well done. And I got to the end. And I was thinking, please tell me this is going to actually see the light of day in terms of theatres or cinemas. Please tell me. And then I looked at it, of course, pretty much everywhere else around the world is getting it directly to theatres. I think, and we are too. And that's the good news. Sky have acquired it. Well done, Sky. But they have made the conscious decision to make sure this gets a decent cinema run before it comes to Sky Cinema so that they can attack that from both sides. And I think that's a brilliant, genius move because this is a film that deserves the big stage that is the cinematic experience. Yeah, it's a film you can watch at home. I think you said yesterday you can do either. You can watch it at home or you can watch it on a big screen. I think it might, just for the cinematography alone, the bigger screen might serve it better. But overall, I've really struggled to find anything wrong with this movie.
Well, so just to go back just a second, the one thing I said to you, and I know that you do this anyway, but when people watch movies at home, you've got a lot of distractions. You know, you've got your phone, you've got your kids, you've got the washing up, you've got the hoovering.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Right.
But
this is one of these films, and I've said this to friends before, this is one of these films that if you are going to watch it at home, you need to turn the phone off. You need to forget about the washing up. You need to pack the kids off with the iPad or whatever you're going to do. Yeah. You need to sit down for 2 hours and fully absorb into this film.
Yeah, you can get, and that's that. I think one of its greatest strengths is that you can get lost in it.
Yeah.
You can just get lost in the beauty of this film.
I was just going to say, if you commit to this film, you will get what it gives you.
It's enchanting, and it deals with some very ugly subjects, but it, nonetheless, as a result, it's still an enchanting, gorgeous, beautiful film. And I can't see myself giving it any less than 5 stars, to be honest.
I would give it a 4.5, purely because I'm not 100% sure how much repeat viewing it has. I think...
And you're right, you can't rewatch it. I don't think it's got much rewatchability, but when you're in it, when you're in its presence, this beautiful and yet at the same time ugly side of everything they go through, it was just so gorgeously, delicately, beautifully done, and I love him for it. So for me, it's a 4.5.
Yes.
Me, it's a 5. A Good Person. It is in cinemas from Friday the 24th of March with a view to go to Sky Cinema at a later date. We will remind you at the time, which brings us to our big film of the week. Kind of feel like Good Person should be. I enjoyed it that much. However, on a completely different tack,
the big film of the week has
a lot to live up to. Oh, and it does. That's the Cliff Notes version. You can log off now. I've told you, it's great. John Wick Chapter 4, or John Wick 4, or John Wick Baba Yaga, depending on which country you're in. But this is the bit, again, tiptoeing, because I nearly said something. I was like, oh no, that's a spoiler. Okay, so John Wick 4 continues on from the events of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. So this has been a continuous thread in the story. I think everyone knows where we're at with this now. Yeah. This all started...
over a puppy.
This all started over, and rightly so.
Yes.
And rightly, you're a dog lover. Rightly
exactly,
so.
Yeah.
So I love that. It was once explained, I can't remember, it might have even been Barry Norman, but someone somewhere, there was a film professor that explained this as well, about how if something, like, movies can't just be violent as all hell for violence sake, right? That's a turn off, right? If, however, there is a chain or an event or a chain of events that emotionally resonate with you as a viewer, so much so, like a dog being killed, all the violence that follows then is suddenly justified.
Yep, 100%.
Right? Like, by the way, not in real life. Do not go out and do that to people. I mean, that's a whole other thing. People that do things to dogs, let's not talk about those people, because that just makes me angry thinking about it. But in a fictional sense, his dog was absolutely senselessly, pointlessly murdered at the beginning of all this. Completely pointlessly. It was Alfie Allen's character, wasn't it, as well?
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
I think it's... Poor Alfie Allen. You know, he didn't do it in real life, right? Anyway. So then, obviously, John Wick, a retired
hitman, assassin,
double hard, absolutely phenomenally skilled super killer, retired, happy, off the grid. His lovely wife passes away. She gets very poorly. This is all the first movie, so don't get at me about this. This movie's old. And then, of course, he is just awash with grief, and she leaves him in her will the delivery of this beautiful puppy, and that's kind of, he and the puppy are all that's left of her. And then, of course, he gets raided, burgled, for want of a better description. His dog gets murdered in the process, and that, of course, brings him back into the, I'm kind of thinking I'm back.
And so basically he's working his way up the chain.
Yeah, since the first movie, he's been, I guess, so the first movie, he's sort of isolated in that he makes his way through that and goes, right, now I'm done. And then, of course, in the second one, the High Table come back and they're like, no, you're not done yet. And then I think, by the time we get to 2 and 3, he's pretty much on the run, isn't he? I think that's essentially where we find him at this point. Is it's so complex. Again, that was the first movie. I don't want to spoil 2 or 3, but he's been on this journey now for the longest time, in that he is basically constantly watching his back, because literally everyone in every direction wants his head for one reason or another. Here's the thing. He wants all of their heads anyway. So there's a really great line, isn't there? I can't remember if it's the second one or third one, where they were like, "Oh, we'll just send like 200 more guys," and then Winston, who's played by Ian McShane, brilliantly,
fantastic.
Yeah. Says, I was like, we'll just send 250 more guys. It was something, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. And then he just looks and says, then it will be evenly matched. Yeah. I just love that. It's like the idea of that he's just mythologically like superhuman. He isn't, of course. We see him throughout the series make mistakes. But with this movie, we continue on from that. And I don't really want to get too much into it, because I think everybody's so excited for this film and they don't want it spoiled for them. So I will say he continues on his path from chapter 3. And this time it's just all out war. Like, he is destined, absolutely destined to go, right, you're going to leave me alone. So I'm just going to keep coming at yous from all, like, I don't care how far up this goes, how far up the chain this goes. I'm just going to keep shooting my way up the chain until I'm done, so I can go home, have a beer and go to bed and just be like, I'm done with this now. If I have to kill every single one of them, that's what I'm going to do, because he's now on a road to the end. He wants this to end. And so he knows the only way out is through. And that is where we start our story.
How goes the grand farewell tour?
Coming to an end.
So it seems, so it seems. 42 regular, wasn't it? It's Kevlar front to back, the latest in ballistic chic. Appropriate for all formal occasions. Weddings, funerals, high table duels. After all, a man has to look his best when it's time to get married. Or buried.
So, essentially, like I said, if you've seen the other 3, you know exactly what you're going to get from this. I will say this. You're going to get everything you want from this turned up to 50. It's like they went, should we just wrap this up now? and everyone's gone, yeah, do you know what, let's wrap it up, but let's really go for it. And it does not disappoint. From the opening frame to the closing frame, it literally does, nothing is left to half measure, nothing at all. Like, it leans into everything, like I said, amped up to 1,000. Like, Keanu Reeves is amazing. We don't even need to talk about his performance.
Isn't it funny? I was thinking this earlier. Isn't it funny, with all the great films that Keanu Reeves has made through the years, isn't it funny that, how old is he now? Mid-50s?
Mid to late, yeah.
Mid to late 50s. Isn't it funny that we've got all to this point in his life before he's found his franchise? We thought the Bill and Ted could have been it, and
I don't know. We don't know that. We don't know if he's got something else.
I mean, like Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible.
But there's also The Matrix. The Matrix. I mean, The Matrix is. I think you're right because because John Wick has become so.
Yeah, I think
popular.
and also Matrix 3 was. Yeah,
there's 4 of them.
I know. Matrix 3 was not great, and I didn't see Matrix 4 because that didn't get very good reviews either.
I really like Matrix 4.
I from what I was led to believe, it just rehashed the first one.
Doesn't everything that's.
Yeah.
So
true.
does Scream 5.
But my point being is, this appears to be Keanu's thing.
Oh, it's his legacy, yeah, for sure. And Chad Stahelski, who's directed all 4 of them. Chad, of course, is a stuntman himself, and that's where the magic in this movie lies.
Yes, and we've spoken about this before. I think when the trailer came out a month ago or whatever it was, and we spoke about the trailer, and we said the great thing about these is you could just watch the making of movies, and they are every inch as good as the actual movie because he's just phenomenal.
David Leitch and Chad Stahelski, who I think their company is called 87 North. I think their company's called 87 North. They, of course, made Bullet Train as well, which you love.
Love it.
So I said this to you earlier, this is Bullet Train on steroids.
Yeah. Which is good for me.
It's just insane. Lawrence Fishburne's back. Ian McShane is back. And this is just them going, let's wrap this up, but let's do it proper.
You've said that a couple of times. Does that mean this is it?
I kind of feel like...
Do you feel like
there was 4? They were going to do 4, and then they were going to do 5, and then it was kind of like, actually, do you know what? Should we just get this? Should we just because he's coming? You've got to remember that for 3 movies now, he's been basically working his way up the chain. At some point, he's going to get to the top. So I think they've just gone, yeah. Do you know what we'll do? Let's just do this bigger, louder.
Finish on top and make sure we don't have a dud.
For sure, yeah. And it's like they went, do you know what we're going to do? But not just we need to make this really special because we may or may not do another one, but we kind of need to, we at the very least need to end this particular thread of John Wick's journey in terms of like he's only so far up this chain he's going to go before he's going to hit the big bad, right? Like a video game. So, and they've gone, well, actually, do you know what? Let's just go mental. I mean, literally mental. It leans so far into its silliness, like Bullet Train, that it works. Because there are things that you see start to get set up and you go, oh man, follow through on this. Because if you don't, you're gonna look silly. And they do not disappoint. They don't mess around at all. There's what I can only describe as a ballet dance between John, I'm not going to say who, some bad guys, and oncoming traffic. That's just one element of it. You saw a little bit of a teaser.
The Arc de Triomphe
Arc de Triomphe, yeah. So there's a whole it's almost like Chad watched Mission Impossible Fallout and went, hold my beer. So it's Keanu versus bad guys versus oncoming traffic at speed, and yet somehow there's a beautiful synchronicity, a dance to it. Like all John Wick films, there's a dance to it all, and it pays off beautifully. I lost count of the amount of times I went, oh, like that happened a lot. It feels like it happened a lot more than the previous 2. So it gets gnarly, as one would expect from John Wick. The kills get more creative. And, of course, we've got some new characters in this as well that have been added to the mix. I've got to give Scott Adkins a big up, man. Scott, seriously, he just owns every scene he's in. You'll see it when you get there. Promise you, it's worth your while. And I know a lot of people have said, oh, he's in this massive fat suit in the poster. He's in a massive fat suit, and he still comes to the table with a good scrap. So watch out for that. And Donnie Yen. Oh, my God, Donnie Yen. You don't see Donnie Yen for ages, and then when you see him, you're reminded that he's a force of nature. So there's him in this movie, and then you've got, over here, you've got Scott Adkins doing this, and Keanu Reeves doing this, and Ian McShane's doing this, and it just all comes together gorgeous. And Lance Reddick as well, who just left us. It was terribly, terribly sad. And some of the things that have been happening since he passed away, passed at the age of 60, unexpectedly. He has been one of the most important, pivotal parts of that franchise. His character, the concierge.
Yeah.
Brilliant character as well, brilliant actor, and just seems for anybody that doesn't know, probably anyone that plays video games will know him from the Destiny video game community, and he used to play online with other Destiny fans. Like, he was no airs and graces about that kind of stuff. And I think something really beautifully touching happened the other day. I read somewhere that the entire, or as much of the Destiny community, all went for a massive online game.
Oh, okay.
In his honour.
Oh, wow.
Because and then we started seeing letters from gamers who found his character an inspiration, helped them through mental health trouble. Like, his impact was so wonderful, and I haven't seen, thankfully, no bad words said about him yet, and long may that continue, because he was wonderful, he was brilliant, he's a very talented actor, and it was beautifully bittersweet to see him in John Wick 4. So he's back in force, and yeah, it's just, again, I had real trouble finding anything wrong with it, because for all it's, you could argue, oh, it's very silly, but then they all are. Like, it lent into that silly. And I said to you earlier about that Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton thing. It's like somebody set up with all 4 films, somebody set up the prospect, like, what if Charlie Chaplin was a double hard? That's essentially what happens with John Wick, because he is ruthless, he is skilled, he is precision at killing, but he gets nicked, he gets punched, he gets knocked downstairs. Like, he does all this, but it's for comedic effect. So yeah, all that works really, really, really well.
I'm going to turn the tables on you right now and do what you do to me.
Yeah, go on.
What didn't you like about it?
I don't think there was anything I didn't like about it, if I'm honest. I struggled to find anything I didn't like about it. I saw the running time as 2 hours 50, and I thought immediately there we're going to have a problem. But I didn't notice it. I didn't really feel at any time, oh, come on, move this on. I think that's why they just went, let's do John Wick 4 and not John Wick 4 and 5. That's not to say there will or won't be a John Wick 5, but for now it kind of feels like they went, well, we could kind of just break this into 2 movies, or we could just make one really good one. I said to you on a messenger the other day, didn't I? I'd rather have a really solid 3-hour movie than 2 kind of boring 2-hour ones, or packed full of filler. And these movies are never boring.
If it's 2 hours 50, and then otherwise you would have had 2 2-hour movies, so that's an extra hour and 10 minutes of filler.
Yeah, it's like, how do we wrap up this legendary story in 2:45, 2 hours 50 or whatever?
Yeah,
and they do it really well. The pacing of it is just right. He's constantly moving from the cinematography as well is beautiful, because you're constantly moving from continent to continent. So you're seeing all these landmarks and beautiful places, and that works amazingly well as it always does. Music, of course, Tyler Bates, Joel Richard, Lola as well, his daughter Lola Collette. You hear, I've now heard Nowhere to Run. It sounds amazing. There's a lot to love about it. There's not a lot to dislike about it. I think if you don't like the others, don't worry about this one.
Right, yeah.
You
At
really
the end of the
need
day,
to know.
If you've seen John Wick and maybe John Wick 2 and you thought, not for me, I don't imagine you're running out to see John Wick 4.
No, you need to see the other 3. But I would say, as a for now closing act, which is what it feels like, it just does so many. It does so many things. I keep remembering things as I'm talking to you. It does so much well, like creatively as well. Not just in the way people are bumped off and the way the fights are, but the way they're choreographed and the way they're shot. There's another fight in particular, you'll know it when you see it, shot from overhead, and I just thought, this is awesome. Awesome. I was hugely delighted with every frame of it. I came out very, very satisfied. I'm sure there are some things to pick holes in, but
nothing you can think of right now.
No.
Nothing that stood out that much.
I kept going between 4, 4.5, 5. I'm actually struggling with it as a final score, but I kind of feel like it's as good as the first one, and I gave that a 5.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
So should I give this a 5? That's my question. I think Sean, just to highlight, Sean Wilson, by the way, if you want to catch Sean's view on this, you can do online. He's just written also a beautiful review of it. He gave it 4, I think. 4 stars. So I kind of feel like 4's too low and 5's too high. So let's say 4.5. Should we rest on that? 4.5 out of 5 for John Wick 4, and yes, it does have rewatchability factor. So much, in fact, so much so that I cannot wait to go and watch it again.
Yeah.
I want to see all your faces, depending on how that lands and who we see it with and whatever. But I want to see all your faces, or at least hear from all of you. Did you like John Wick Chapter 4? Tell us at Need a Bigger Pod. That is in cinemas Friday 24th of March. Please do go and see that. Between that and Good Person, which are very different films. And again, that was a difficult choice.
Literally couldn't be any more different,
They couldn't be any more different. So depending on what your pace is, I would recommend either A Good Person or John Wick Chapter 4, depending on what you're into. Okay.
It's time for our big interview.
It is, yeah. So we're going to go back to another movie we really like called Creed 3. That was composed, all the music in the film was composed by Joseph Shirley. Now, Joseph has been working with Ludwig Göransson for a really long time, which means Joe was involved with Creed 1's music and Creed 2's music. Creed 3 was his first rodeo as the lead composer, which was a massive, not just, I won't say award, but, an exciting prospect for him, but also a new challenge, which he was very excited about, which, of course, Michael B. Jordan was his first time director. Now, good thing is they're friends, but we'll hear from Joe about that in a second. So, yeah, talking about that and also his work on The Mandalorian, because, again, Ludwig was very involved with The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2's music. He's now passed the baton, literally, to Joe for The Mandalorian Season 3. So let's find out a little bit more about both those projects right now from composer Joseph Shirley. Time now to give a warm welcome to a composer whose incredible work on the soundtrack to Creed 3 has resulted in me quite literally having it on repeat for well over a week now, and I'm sure we can all agree that he's absolutely hitting every perfect note with his music for season 3 of The Mandalorian so far too. Mr. Joseph Shirley, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that introduction. That's very nice, and very happy to be here to speak with you about these awesome projects.
Now, as I was saying, there's a beautiful parcel available right down here by the flats.
I appreciate the offer, but I have some matters to look after.
Well, I'm confused. I thought you had completed your mission, but you're still running around here with the same little critter.
It's complicated.
I want to talk about Mandalorian for a little bit. I know we can't really talk too much about it because I get the season's kind of just coming into its own right now. There's a couple of episodes up, I guess. But I do want to talk about what we've heard so far. It's so far sounding brilliant. Let's talk about the music you've created for this season and walk us through your approach to your music for season 3 and some of the ideas you've been having musically for season 3.
Yeah, well, I'll just, for any fans listening out there, this season is like no other season they've had, and it definitely breaks the mold in certain ways, but also stays true to its inner core in other ways. It's really an amazing season, and John and Dave and Rick have just like totally built something like they've expanded this world in certain ways that is really exciting. I can't wait for folks to see it. And musically, I kind of wanted to match that. I mean, we there are so many amazing, iconic now themes that Ludwig has contributed to seasons 1 and 2, and that was kind of the pitch, was let's continue to use obviously these brilliant themes, but begin to arrange them and expand upon them in certain ways, and I would be composer working with some of those themes and contributing some new ones. And that was kind of the setup for this season 3. It was a very similar setup to the Book of Boba Fett, which I had such a fun time working on as well. And yeah, I mean, it essentially like just trying to match the vision of the show to what John sort of pitched. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we sat down and watched the first 2 episodes together before I had written anything, before they had anything from the music side. And the original pitch that he had was, well, there's a character that we've brought back, and she's going to play a pretty pivotal role in this season. And it was Bo-Katan. And Ludwig, it was episode 3 of season 2 that we first meet her, and Ludwig had a very like distinctive motif on a synth. It was bum da 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 da, and paired with some guitars and like kind of edgier synth sounds and things like that. But that was a very initial motif that really worked in that episode and for that season when she showed up. But John kind of wanted to give her a bit more of maybe a classic like orchestral approach, like let's use a motif and build upon that. I mean, I will never compare myself to anybody, especially not John Williams, but the pitch was essentially like, can we give her a bit more of a Williams-y Star Wars treat, bit more of a orchestral treatment for her throughout the season. So that was the pitch. And obviously at the end of episode 1, we first meet her and she's forlorn, despondent, just totally sad, down in the dumps, chilling in this castle all by herself, kind of lost everything, doesn't have the Darksaber. she's at a loss for what she's supposed to do. She doesn't really want to help Din Djarin, but he shows up either way. So when we first meet her at the end of episode 1, what I did was take that original Ludwig motif, but I kind of like hid it in the course of a longer theme, a bit more of an orchestral theme. It's first played on the French horn.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, it at least felt to me like a nice fitting theme for her in this state of sort of sadness and just solitary confinement.
Yeah.
And it felt very lonely. So, but over the course of the season, that theme that is played there will be arranged in a multitude of different ways that we'll hear as the season progresses, and it helped to sort of build her arc throughout this season. And I think as an overall, the season really does it grows and becomes more robust, and kind of the proportions of it, the scope of it get really wide and big. And I think the sound of the orchestra that I decided to go with, taking John's kind of initial pitch to heart, was a little bit more symphonic and big and robust. The sound, some of the way that I've arranged some of these themes throughout the season and built upon them, and yeah, it just gets to be really big, and I can't wait to see how people receive it and what they resonate with. It's an awesome season for sure.
How is it working with Jon and Dave? Because I only hear the most amazing stories about them. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, what are they like to work with from your perspective?
It's funny because those are the only stories you'll get from me too. I mean, they're just brilliant collaborators and the smartest people. The world building they're able to do, and I would include Rick Famuyiwa in this as well. The world building that they do in this season is really incredible, and it's they leave space for you as an artist to offer your ideas, but at the same time they're very clear with their feedback. So what's been it's a really fulfilling process, I would say, working with people like that give you space, but also are very direct with their feedback when they hear something that they either like or don't like or want to change. Or, it's if you can be direct with your feedback and be able to back it up in certain ways that further inspire you as an artist, it's almost like, oh, I can't wait to rewrite this cue. Like I'm ready to go back right now and open this thing up and like make this thing, fit with your vision now because you've inspired me by that feedback. It's always like a chance to sort of improve upon what you had instead of like a negating thing or, a totally critical thing. It's an inspiring way to work with somebody when you feel like they have your back and they trust you. I can't say enough about Jon, Dave, and Rick on this season. I mean, it's like they're just very, very smart, brilliant, clever people, but also so well versed in this Star Wars universe and so well versed in the art of filmmaking that it's a true honor and privilege to work with people like that, and to even offer something to the table that they themselves are enjoying. It means a hell of a lot to me at the young beginnings of my career. It's inspiring the hell out of me to have that experience with them.
Does it make it more? I guess it makes it more comfortable for you as well, because I know that you've been working on these seasons with Ludwig before, obviously, and with Creed, of course, as well. But working with such brilliant and, as you say, very inviting, very welcoming people, does it feel more like a family atmosphere rather than, oh my God, I'm working on a Star Wars?
Yeah, no, it feels like we're just screwing around playing in a band together or something, like it's a very, on the one hand, yes, it is very formal. It's like we're still in the COVID era. So I would say like you and I are speaking digitally. You're in the UK, I'm here in Los Angeles. So we're digitally connecting here. And this is how many of our playback meetings for The Mandalorian worked. So there is a bit more of like a formal scheduling to it, and we're talking about like some of the busiest people in Hollywood right now. So like, even scheduling a meeting with someone like Jon Favreau, you need to like stick to that. And and when you're on meeting, there's 30 other people listening to what you say. So like that was something that was tricky at first for me, at least, was just being having a conversation with your collaborator, but a lot of other people who are also working, doing amazing work. They're listening in to see, okay, what direction are we going in here? But at the same time, I would say folks like John, Dave, and Rick are so trusting that you kind of lets your guard down a little bit in certain ways, and you can. I mean, I'll give you one non-spoiler example, but like there is a bit of with all the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, they always allow us to contribute the source music, and in a lot of Star Wars, like the source music, like i.e. the Cantina band from the original trilogy, like some of the greatest music that's ever been written for film, and funny and clever and just charming. I really do enjoy writing the source music for these shows, and there's several pieces of source music in these upcoming episodes. We went in a direction that I don't think anybody really would have predicted us going in.
Okay.
And it's like I wrote a song, and sang a song. So I mean, I don't want to give too much away because I don't know if that would be troublesome. But it's some of the source music. Basically, we were trying to find the right thing for this particular scene, and the ideas just weren't working for these guys. So I was just like, all right, screw it. I'm going to do something completely different and see how it works. And like, thankfully they're trusting and creative people, and they thought it was kind of fun. So we kind of ran with this new idea, but it's a small example of just how you can pitch them on something that, you just think is fun and cool. And if it works for their vision, they'll run with it too. They'll meet you right there.
And now you're singing in it too, which is cool.
Right.
Is that you making your singing debut in
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. It's singing in a weird Star Wars language, I'll say. So.
I'm looking forward to that. I want to come back around to Creed 3, which we mentioned at the top of the show, and we mentioned many times throughout the show. This is a score, and I've said this so many times on this show and every other show I've been on. This is a score I am absolutely obsessed with. So let's start at the beginning and talk about how you can. I guess we've elaborated on this because of your work on the Creed franchise as it's been developing, but how you came to be the front runner on this score, and how you felt when you got an opportunity to actually step into the ring yourself sonically.
Yeah, what a crazy thrill that was. It was about a year ago when I first found out that I was pitched to work on this movie. And I mean, my involvement with Ludwig and his trust in me, I think, means a hell of a lot. And it's still something that I cherish, is just like the time I've had with Ludwig and his trust in me and belief in me to be able to do this, completely hats off, and like, thank you to a guy like Ludwig Göransson for helping me achieve this. And but it meant a lot that he pushed for me to have this role, but at the same time, I feel like I worked my ass off to get there too. So like you do have to back it up with a lot of hard work, and you earn somebody's trust by doing that, by spending time and by working hard and offering your ideas and being creative with somebody. You do earn that, and I feel grateful that I had that experience working under Ludwig. I mean, on Creed 1, I was assisting him. That was my first movie ever in Hollywood, was assisting Ludwig on Creed 1. Creed 2, that was like maybe 3 or 4 years later, or 3 years later. And I was helping him in more creative ways on that one. And then here comes Creed 3, and Michael B. Jordan's directing, and it's just totally a family type of environment. It's like Ryan Coogler is one of the, in his company Proximity is one of the producers on it. Michael's company is producing it. Ludwig's involved in that sort of way. He's the score producer on this movie. It's with the home team of MGM, who I've, over the years working on those movies and working on another movie called Bad Trip, I just became friends with them, who I love dearly. And so it felt like a home team, and some of the folks who were, in the background on the first two movies came to the fore. Another example of that is Keenan Coogler, one of Ryan's brothers, who wrote this movie along with Zach Balan. I mean, they just totally outdid themselves in writing this story and getting it through the finish line. I mean, that is just another simple example of someone who was in the background on Creed 1 and Creed 2, but now taking center stage. It's really amazing how these movies do feel like a family environment, and folks who worked hard to earn this spot are able to contribute to this third installment of this movie. Yeah, it was just a blast because, I mean, again, it feels like a family. So like I was getting to work with my friends again. And yeah, it was just such a joy and such a blessing to collaborate with them in that way.
Brought you into my home, bruh. You met my family. I put money up for you. Put the gloves on your hands like you asked.
That's enough, Shirley. You put the gloves on my hands? Oh, homie. You must be punchy. Because if memory serves, you used to carry my gloves.
Get your and get out the gym.
I've got to ask you about the training montage, and this whole film has so many beautiful musical moments in terms of themes you've created. Like you've carried that DNA from Bill Conti and from Ludwig right into this one, but at the same time you've brought your own creative, beautiful stamp to it and brought your own ideas in, and that's very evident when you listen to it, that it's just gorgeous. So let's talk about, I want to just focus on the training montage, because that's that, and Run It as well, I listen to like over and over and over and over. To break the music down for us, tell us how you made it, because it's just gorgeous. I love it.
Oh man, John, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I mean, I'll say that the Run It suite that I definitely like chose to put as track number 1 on the soundtrack. That was the very first idea I came up with for the movie probably a year ago, and it exists in the movie only in the end credits now, but pieces of it were broken apart and used throughout the course of the movie in the scope of the actual underscore. So like there are sounds, it's like that the first sound you hear in that suite is this really weird guitar sound that it doesn't quite sound like a guitar or a synth, but it just kind of has a cool flavor. I was just creating sounds while I was working, experimenting on the suites, like before seeing picture and everything. That melody came to me and I sang it, and then like certain clap elements, certain harmonic structures that feel very of the ilk of the family of Creed movies and the Bill Conti movies. I was just kind of playing around in this and trying to give it a bit of a different flavor, a bit more of like a contemporary kind of spin maybe, or like more of a produced sound, but still coming up with like themes that I thought were strong enough that we could use in the course of the movie. So the suite came together as like an initial experiment, and then I really enjoyed it and thought that I could, maybe I'll take this melodic fragment and run with that and expand that. So like the Adonis theme was born out of that first vocal that you hear in that suite. And then the Amara theme, I have sort of a quote unquote family theme for Amara that you hear when she's, let me see, like the tea party, and then her punching the bag with Adonis. Yeah. And then at the very end of the movie, when Bianca and Adonis are fighting, and Amara, they don't realize Amara's standing there watching them. You hear the theme there. You hear it at the end of the movie in the ring with the family. So, I mean, like having a melodic fragment of that in that initial suite sort of helped me sort of expand upon it and have it be Amara's theme. But then even just tonally, it's like the vibe of that suite, even if it's not immediately apparent, I still tried to like filter in that vibe, that aesthetic to the score. It's only if you really listen closely that you'll find the elements that are in that suite throughout the score, but melodically and harmonically, I just thought it was fun to run with that one. And then the training montage, it kind of,
oh man,
it was like like we were playing around with this choir idea and just having vocals, like honestly a lot of vocals throughout the whole score. And it was, I don't really remember how the vocal shouts, the samples that I have came about. I wish I could remember like when we were like, oh yeah, this is cool, let's go with this. But it kind of became like a signature of the score, the hoo, ah, hee. Yeah. And I had the choir match me. Like originally I sang it, and then had the choir kind of back me up on that. and used that kind of like started to set things off in a fun way that I thought felt new and sort of like classic in certain ways too, and contemporary, almost like just like an R&B or like a hip hop track throughout the entire montage, and then arranging Adonis's theme throughout it and threading it to try to tell the story of Adonis struggling, and then he's at his lowest point, and we had this brilliant song.
Oh yeah.
Contribute to the soundtrack called "Heavy Is the Head." Baby Rose was singing it. She's a phenomenal singer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, a beautiful song, and it really matched the aesthetic and like the tone and the story of what needed to happen there when Adonis was at his lowest point in the midst of this montage. Feeling guilty for not having Dame's back, but at the same time, Adonis is still our champion, our hero, and it's like heavy is the head, that wears the crown. He's dealing with a lot, and it just felt like it really matched his story at that point. So we decided to put it in there, and that felt really great. And then, yeah, it was like having Dr. Dre's involvement in this score was insane. Here's another. We've been talking about legends throughout this call, but like that's a guy,
yeah,
that everyone knows his music and has grown up with his music and has adored his. It's like Dr. Dre is a genius, a living legend, and he gracefully allowed us to use at the beginning of the movie, his song "The Watcher," and then we did a callback to it in the montage, and J. Cole contributed a new verse on top of more or less my cover of the Watcher beat. The Watcher 2 beat, because The Watcher 2 has this very distinct guitar line that like Jay-Z and Eminem were playing around with, and so I included that guitar line.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was just like a meeting of the minds, but also like so cool to be able to like quote that material and make it feel like Creed.
Yeah.
And so I built that beat out, and J. Cole recorded his verse, and everybody's freaking out. And that was a cool moment. That was a cool moment because all I got was just a voice memo of J. Cole rapping over it. And I mean, that's what we were all using to just like, all right, throw it into the movie. Like, let's see how well it works. And it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. It was a very quick thing. Like once it happened, it was like very quick. It was like, okay, this is dope. Let's make this work. And then from that point on, I really wanted it to be that heroic orchestra, classic Rocky and Creed sort of gesture while he starts to succeed. It's kind of set up like Adonis struggles, Adonis is at his low point, and then Adonis succeeds. Him running up the hill to the Hollywood sign is like one of my favorite moments in this movie.
I love that so much.
That scream that Michael just does at the top of the mountain. It's just like so freaking powerful and ferocious, and you just know he's out for blood at that point. So Michael and I just really wanted that ending to be just as big and orchestral and heroic as we possibly could, so we decided to just go for it there.
My interview there with Joseph Shirley, talking about Creed 3, his music for Creed 3, which is available now via Sony Classical. You can see the film in cinemas, and of course The Mandalorian Season 3 is now playing on Disney Plus, and the soundtrack's coming soon from Hollywood Records.
So, looking at streaming, there's a new release coming out called Perfect Addiction, which is coming to Amazon Prime. Now, as yet, we haven't been able to see this.
No, we haven't, but you looked into some highlights very quickly.
I did. I had a look at the trailer and I looked into what it's about. It looks as though it's a rom-com about UFC fighting or MMA fighting, whatever way you want to look at that.
I got that, yeah.
Which is, it's interesting.
I love the way you go,
Yeah. So basically, there's the main woman and her MMA fighter boyfriend sleeps with her sister. And so to get revenge on him, she goes out and meets another guy who is an MMA fighter who's maybe not quite as good, but she's going to teach him to be just as good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very confused.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not confused. It's an MMA rom-com. Or not rom-com, because it sounds quite serious. I don't know. What is it? How would you describe it? Okay, that's on Amazon Prime from this Friday. It's called
A Perfect Addiction.
And there we go. Amazon Prime Video from Friday 24th of March. What else did we look at?
Something that is out is Agent Elvis, which is on Netflix.
I love this so much. So for anyone that heard a previous pod with Tyler Bates and Lola Collette, Tyler Bates, who we literally just spoke about as the composer of the John Wick movies, he also composed the music for Pearl. And this, Agent Elvis, which is on Netflix right now. Did you watch any of it?
I managed to see the first episode,
It is bonkers in the best possible way.
It's like Johnny Bravo turned up to 11.
Johnny Bravo reminds me a lot of Archer as well, but in a nutshell, Elvis Presley is a superhero.
Who is voiced by Matthew McConaughey.
Wow, thank you very much. Yeah, what more do you need to say? I don't think we need to sell you on it any more than it's Matthew McConaughey voicing Elvis, who is a superhero in a cartoon.
It is not, repeat, not a cartoon for children.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay, don't get that twisted because it's a cartoon on Netflix. It is not, and I repeat, not a cartoon for children. Right, moving on to The Boston Strangler, which is out on Disney+, starring Keira Knightley.
Boston Strangler on Disney+. Composed by my good friend Paul Leonard Morgan, who did a great score, but I haven't seen the movie, so what's the movie like? What's it actually, quick highlights, what's it about?
So, quite simply, it's about the Boston Strangler, which was in Boston in, going to throw me for a year now, I believe around 75, something like that. A spate of women just kind of getting strangled through Boston, and they couldn't catch the guy who did it. So this is not actually about the Boston Strangler, though. Keira Knightley plays a reporter. Mm-hmm. And this is about the two women who are, the word has gone blank.
Victims?
No. Work at the newspaper. Reporters. That's the word I was looking for.
Two female journalists.
And they've noticed a pattern, and none of the men who work at the paper, none of the police officers are putting these connections together at all. They don't care about it because it's not affecting them. But they have noticed that this connection is coming, and they set out to do a story on this and obviously gain it more traction and everything else like that. So, which they do, they get their story printed, and then the murders keep happening. And it's about how the case gets solved, how it's not what you think it's going to be. If you don't know the story of the Boston Strangler, it's not what you think it's going to be. But this film is not from police point of view of trying to solve the case. It's not from the Boston Strangler's point of view. It's from these two female journalists who are trying to solve it and shine as much light on it as they possibly can.
3 women were strangled over the last 2 weeks.
I don't see the interest. They're the nobodies.
Who do you think our readers are? And that's just it. Why would anybody go around killing 3 nobody women?
And how do you plan to find that out?
Let me profile the victims. See if there's any connection.
Kid, you're not covering a homicide.
Why not?
Because you don't have any experience covering homicides.
Well, how am I supposed to get any experience if you won't give me a shot?
So, look, this is a good film. We've spoken a lot in this episode about our star rating and how we go on things. This is good.
Yeah,
and that's what you can say. It's not dramatic. It's not like many cop films where they're trying to catch the person committing these acts. It's not that. It's very good. It's very factual. It's very on point. It shows you the struggles that these two women went through in obviously a very male-dominated era. To get their voices heard, which nobody wanted to hear them at first, and then when they were heard and they did make waves and things started going in the right direction, people then blamed the women for certain things that were happening, which was completely not their fault as well. So it's all the struggles that they went through to get all of this done, to get some notoriety to these murders. And even when they were told not to do something, how they kept going and they were doing the right things to make sure that young women and old women stopped being killed in the middle of the night. So, it's very good. Keira Knightley has an American accent, which before I hit play, I wasn't 100% sure about, but I've got to say it's definitely not the worst American accent I've ever heard. It's maybe not natural, but it's not enough to throw you out. When we see some people with bad accents in films, and it doesn't matter how good the film is, you'll sit there throughout the film and go, oh, that's just not right.
Like your impressions.
100% like my impressions. Yes, absolutely. But no, her accent is good. She wasn't allowed to do a Bostonian accent. The director said, no, you're not touching a Boston accent.
Was it a Boston?
Yeah, so like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So she just does a generic American voice, and yeah, it's fine. And that's exactly what I would say about the film. It's fine. It's good. It's okay. It's good.
What did you not like about it?
It's not, like I say to you, it's more of a documentary. It's very factual. It's very by the by. It's very this happened, this happened, this happened. There's nothing bad about the film. There's also nothing great about the film.
Nothing really smacks you in the face.
No, it's 100% a good film. If that is the type of thing that interests you, you know, obviously my wife is obsessed with the serial killer documentaries you get on Netflix and all of that type of
understand.
stuff. So I watched it with my wife, and she thought the same. She enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's on Disney Plus. It's a good film. If that's the type of thing that you like, if you like these the old serial killer bits and pieces, watch it and you'll enjoy it. It's a good film.
The Boston Strangler. That's on Hulu in other territories. It's on Disney Plus here in the UK. Out of 5.
3.
3 out of 5 from Paul Marsh. 3 out of 5 for the Boston Strangler. Okie dokie. Where are we next?
Right, we're looking at the digital 4K Blu-rays and DVDs.
Oh, we'll go very quickly with this because I know that they are essentially just all re-releases, aren't they? They're just brand new. So we've got a couple. We'll mention these very quickly because I did want to bring them up because it's nice to see them in 4K. There are a lot of 4K tins, collector's tins. So if that's your jam, if you want to see, also digital. So if you want to see these movies now beautifully transferred to 4K format on digital, you can do. If you're like us and we like clogging up our houses with things to make our partners very unhappy at the amount of space we're taking up with all this random, because we like collecting far too much, and you're into a disc, then this may be for you. The three. No, sorry. I'll start again.
You're right there, Porky Pig.
There are two. I do feel like Porky Pig. Have you seen the amount I've eaten this week? Because we've been on the road.
Yeah.
Road food. We need to work on that. We need to work on getting healthier on the road.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy, isn't it? Dive straight into insert name of burger restaurant here. Anywho. Yes, sorry, so I won't start with the other one. I know there's one at the top of the list there. Let's just very quickly mention the two older films that have now made their 4K debut.
Okay, so coming out on 4K, we have Candyman and Red Eye.
Red Eye, which was with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdam, I believe, if anyone remembers that. I thought that was really good. I like Red Eye. That's on 4K now for the first time, making its 4K tin Steelbook debut. Not tin, well, it is, I guess. It's not steel, is it? That'd be weird, wouldn't it? We just pick up an actual steel bar with a DVD in the middle of it. Anywho, also Candyman. So this is OG Candyman. It's original Candyman.
Original Candyman. Yeah. Was that 92? Something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Early 90s, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah. Which is brilliant. Which is brilliant.
Yeah, I love that.
And Tony Todd.
Oh. Amazing. I like the recent one as well.
Yeah, the recent one's
very good. They're on a par
good.
with each other, actually, I would say, for very different reasons.
Very different films. Very different films,
but still
actually.
the message at the bottom of it is the same.
Yeah.
And what's bad about the message at the bottom of the film, even at the heart of the film, I would say, of both films, hasn't changed in that 28
Which is frightening.
years.
Frightening.
Anyway, yes, Candyman. Love Candyman. Probably one of the greatest horrors ever made. That is now available as a 4K Steelbook. And then what's brand new? So this is brand new to digital this week. We're not getting a disc for it just yet. But,
no.
But
so
you
can buy it on digital now, and it is coming to 4K Blu-ray DVD on the 3rd of April, and it is Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon is still in cinemas, I believe. But if you want to, we've been waiting for that at home. You can now digitally download it on Buy and Keep. It's called Babylon. I gave it 5 stars because I thought it was phenomenal. You didn't like it quite as much as me.
I gave it 4 because I thought it dipped a little in the middle, but I still thought it was very, very good.
I thought it was a very wild, very entertaining ride. I was fully into that. So he says 4 stars for Babylon. I say 5 stars for Babylon, but either way, you can get that on digital now.
Either way, we loved it.
I think, are we agreed on a 5 for Candyman?
The original Candyman.
Yeah. It's a perfect horror, isn't it, really?
I'm possibly not a 5, but I would definitely give it a 4.
There we go.
So, very good. Either way.
Same again.
Good,
between 4 and 5 between us for Candyman as well. Okay, those are on... Babylon gets its 4K Blu-ray DVD release a little bit later down the line. Get that digital now. Candyman 4K now. Red Eye 4K now. Which brings us to...
our top 5.
Oh, I'm so glad I did a big build-up for that and it wasn't something really random.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did all that build up and it's like, oh, it's not
And
Tip Top 5.
coming out on rental this week.
We have to read out that someone's cat is missing.
Yeah,
But nice
no.
pick up.
So our Tip Top 5 this week is about sequels. Now this
was a challenge that you set,
yes.
which was incredibly difficult.
Yes, it was really, really difficult. And it's not until you kind of get into it that you realise how many great sequels there have been.
So to be clear, if he lays the challenge down, I have to accept. That's the first thing. Secondly, because of people writing in, looking at you, Simon Bruce, I get told off for having any more than 5 and not in the right order. No, I think where we got to was you were quite happy for me to have at least 5 in any order, just as long as it wasn't any more than 5.
Yeah.
So, for the second consecutive week, Simon Bruce, I am now going to give you a top 5. Not right now, we'll do that in a sec, but I'm going to give you a top 5 in the right order. Top to bottom, 5 to 1. No, bottom to top, 5 to 1, with the best, I think, sequel of all time. That will be coming up soon. They are all in order. We've got yours as well. Thank you so much for writing in. We're going to read some of yours out as well. We'll start with Paul Marsh's, but don't worry, because when we get to mine, they will be in order, Simon Bruce. Okay.
Right, well, I'm going to do my Jon Brown impression, and I'm going to give you 5 that didn't make it very quickly. And
No.
Come on.
No.
You've done it for the previous 5 weeks.
All you did was complain whenever I did it. All Simon Bruce did was complain whenever I do it. Other people complained whenever I did it.
Let me get a word in.
Get out. You're not having it.
Just
all that stress you put me under because I had more than 5, and now you're coming here with your... Go on, read them out.
Right, the 5 that didn't make it were The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Top Gun Maverick, Scream 2, Kill Bill 2 and Bad Boys 2. That's the 5 that didn't make it. So, my tip top 5 sequels in reverse order. Number 5 is Desperado.
Oh, yeah.
Most people forget that is a sequel.
El Mariachi.
Well,
it's kind of it isn't.
It's a continuation of a story, therefore it's a sequel.
And a remake at the same time, quite cleverly. But yeah, I'll take that. That's a good shout.
Number 4 is Paddington 2.
Oh, another flawlessly perfect movie.
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. Number 3 is Dr. Sleep.
Oh, you're disrupting there, aren't you? Coming in with that. At number 3 of all time sequels, that's...
Dr. Sleep.
I
love Dr. Sleep.
Oh, that's because everyone will go, but The Shining! I'm like, but it's not about that, is it? It's about sequels.
Dr. Sleep is just amazing.
Yeah, Dr. Sleep is a really, really good movie, man. I like the director's cut as well. That's really interesting. Because of all the films where you go, the greatest sequels of all time. Because Dr. Sleep is so modern, I think it might evade that radar.
And because, let's face it, was there 20, 30 years in between the two films?
We're both very big fans of Flanagan as well.
Huge fan
and
of
the
Flanagan.
Newton Brothers. If you're listening, boys, there you go. Your movies in this top 5. Look at that.
Now, I have to say, my number 2 and number 1 are probably a little bit more predictable. Number 2 is Godfather 2. And
very good choice.
Yeah, I mean, that could be argued as being the best sequel, but obviously this is my favourite. And number one is The Dark Knight.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's very decent, mate.
Yeah.
Very decent.
Dark Knight is in my top 5 films of all time.
Okay.
Love it.
That's cool.
Let's look to the listeners.
Okie dokie. Let's start with Lewis Fuller. Your number 5 is Thor Ragnarok. 4, Lethal Weapon 4. Number 3, The Dark Knight. Number 2, Iron Man 2. Number 1, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. From here on in, it's going to be referred to only as The Empire Strikes Back because I don't want to keep saying that over and over. Thank you, Lewis Fuller.
Ali McNiff, number 5, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Number 4, Rocky 4. Number 3, Journey to the Mysterious Island. Number 2, Terminator 2. And number 1, Godfather Part 2.
A lot of love for Godfather Part 2 so far. Movieverse. This one came in by Insta. Thanks, guys. Number 5, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Always love a Mission Impossible inclusion. Although not one in mine. Because do you know why? I was thinking about this from the point of view of 2s.
Yeah.
That's probably why I did. Anyway, number 5, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Number 4, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Number 3, Back to the Future 2. Number 2, Aliens. And number 1, The Empire Strikes Back. There it is again. Thank you, Movieverse.
Karen Brogan, number 5, The Bourne Supremacy. Number 4, Top Gun Maverick. Number 3, Rocky 2. Number 2, Die Hard 2. And number 1, Toy Story 2. Thank you very much, Karen.
Ruben Shaw, The Ruby Tuesday. Number 5, Lethal Weapon 2. Number 4, Top Gun Maverick. Number 3, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Number 2, Tron Legacy. Very good choice, mate. Number 1, Spider-Man 2. So this is the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, the director's cut.
Sean Stanglin, thank you very much, Sean. Number 5, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. That's why I was so excited to get to that, Gremlins 2. Number 4, Tron Legacy. Number 3, Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Number 2, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. And number 1, Aliens.
Tron Legacy's getting a lot of love here. I'm very happy about that. Wayne Johnston, hello, sir. 5, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Number 4, Avengers Infinity War. Number 3, Mission Impossible 3. Number 2, Avengers Endgame. And number 1, Aliens. A lot of love for Aliens as well.
Very surprising that's the first time we've seen Avengers in there, actually, yeah.
I am, actually. But then again, I thought about this of all time, not just... I think if it was recent sequels, I probably would have had more love for Avengers. But go on.
Josh Knight, number 5, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Number 4, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Number 3, Lethal Weapon 2. Number 2, Paddington 2. And number 1, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
And John Hammond, hello to you, sir. Number 5, Spider-Man 2. So again, that's the Sam Raimi version. Spider-Man 2. Number 5, Spider-Man 2. Number 4, Fist of Fury. Number 3, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Number 2, Top Gun Maverick. Number 1, Evil Dead 2. Nice choice,
yes,
John.
Very good, very good.
Are you ready for mine?
I am. I'm very ready, very excited.
Okay, so these are the 5 in order from 5 to 1 that I feel are the greatest sequels of all time. A little bit of that is, well, mostly of that is I think they're the best 5 sequels of all time, but also a little bit of me in there as well. Okay, number 5, The Godfather Part 2.
And number 5, okay.
Number 4, The Dark Knight.
Oh.
Number 3, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yeah, okay.
Number 2, Aliens.
Okay.
And at number 1, The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, yeah, good shout. I think where you have gone best rather than favourite, I would not disagree with that top 5 at all. Good choices, sir. Well done.
Thank you very much, sir. Good choices to you too as well. There were some extra choices. Thank you to everyone at Need a Bigger Pod. We will look, again, follow us on socials because we'll set the challenge for Tip Top 5 very soon. So if you want to be involved with next week's, keep an eye on our socials and we will tell you there how you can be on this very pod. Okay, go to the week.
Go to the week.
We are rapidly running out of time, so I'm just going to say 2 words. Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Does that even need explaining?
If you want to.
Not really. Again, as we say with all our goats of the week, greatest of all time of the week is someone we put up on a pedestal and throw lots of roses and applause at because either professionally, personally, or in generally, most cases, both, they've just been phenomenal. They are the GOAT, greatest of all time. I think just look up Michelle Yeoh. Do you know what? That's a homework challenge I'm setting for you right now. Look up Michelle Yeoh. Look up her journey. Look up her story. Look up everything that's been going on at the moment, especially with Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she's had a massive, massive renaissance in the commercial mainstream limelight on the biggest screen possible. Do that. In fact, and if you don't want to do any of that, just go and watch Everything Everywhere All at Once because I think that's a movie that needs to be watched. Again, I'm certainly going to do that soon. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh, she is our GOAT of the week because just quite frankly, she's amazing.
Right, thank you very much for making it this far into the podcast. We always appreciate those that have the stamina to make it this far in. It's greatly appreciated.
It's because they do it like you. They do it in parts.
Do it in sections, yeah.
They do it in sections. Thank you very much to Express FM Studios. Once again, we've recorded here. Appreciate your support. Thanks to Miles, Mason, Darren and Ian and all the team at Express for shifting around, helping us out. Not just giving us room to do this in, but also being very flexible in terms of our other commitments at Express. Being very patient with moving things around so we can get this done for you each and every week. Thank you to them. They are brilliant. Check them out, 93.7 FM. And if you're in the Portsmouth and Southeast Hampshire areas, they're on the FM band or Express FM on DAB, or ask your smart speaker to play Express FM if you want to listen. If you're in the local, as I say, mainly in the PO postcode because they are a local radio for Portsmouth, as is their slogan, but they've got lots and lots of great content for you, music, features, specialist shows all week round, 24/7. Check them out, expressfm.com for the website. Thank you very much to View Cinemas as well, again, for making us so that we can making it so that we can pretty much live there day in, day out, make sure we've seen everything we need to see. Ours is local in Gunwolf Keys, but you can check out your local view at myview.com. Paul.
Thank you very much to you, the listener, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Greatly appreciate it. And as always, if you have got any feedback, positive, negative, in between, whatever it is, send it to us and we will read it out. And we greatly appreciate any feedback that you do give us.
And thank you to everyone else that had any part in making sure that we had things ready. There is such a huge list. You know what? Go to audioboom.com. Check out the show on there. We're going to need a bigger pod. I've got probably a massive list of end credits that you can always stay for the end credits, man. But yeah, thank you to all the film distributors and public relations executives and everybody that got involved with making sure we had every bit of content we needed to bring you this magnificent show. And thank you again for listening.
We'll be back next week. Just remember to like, follow, share, retweet, whatever else it is, whatever else you can do.
Share, retweet, share,
subscribe,
retweet, share, retweet, share, retweet. Oh, that's better. Right, sorry, thanks, mate. Got stuck there. Right, thank you very much. Until next week, my friends. Right, is that out now?
Yes.
Is it done?
Yeah, my ears are killing me.
Is it done? I know, well, that's me. Sorry, mate. Your ears are killing you.
My ears are killing me.
Yeah, because my gob.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, mate, but, you know, just don't know when to shut up, do you?
It just goes on and on, doesn't it? It's ridiculous. But even I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I'm talking, even in my mind, I'm going, shut up,
Is
Brown.
that blood? Have I got blood coming out of my ear?
I think you have got blood coming out of your ear, yeah. Did I do that? I'm so sorry. I do it to myself, though. Like, my eyes bleed and stuff, because it's literally my brain. My brain's going, shut up, Brown. Just shut up. Yeah.
Right, I'm going home.
Well, you go home, then. I'm just going to sit here, I think, for a while. Contemplate life.